Hello, everybody. Welcome on in episode 3, late at SMITE, and correctly late at night. Oh, boys, it's going to be a fun one. Today's September 3rd. We're getting closer and closer to the start of the Founders Series. SMITE 2 is out in closed alpha. First time we've met to talk since it came into closed alpha. Malum, Dilo, and Kingfisher to yap at you as always. A couple changes on screen. You can follow along with the topics we're on today, and chat is in the center for you to say hello to yourself. But of course, Dilo, Fisher, how are you guys? How are we feeling? How's the vibes? How's Smite 2 for you both?
I am doing well, honestly. I just got some groceries. I'm going to cook some hamburgers up later. Feeling good about that. As far as Smite 2 news goes, I suck at the game. No one's surprised. Big surprise Pikachu from the fans, but yeah, I am terrible, and that's okay. I've come to accept it.
So have you guys played ranked?
I played ranked, all right. I played ranked with SPL member Ztan, in fact, and unfortunately, it didn't quite go too well.
Oh no.
That's
right,
okay.
Fisher, what about you? How are you doing? You played ranked, played Smite 2?
I don't think I have SMITE 2 installed yet. I think I've installed it
bro.
After that one weekend. Hey, in my defense, I haven't been playing many games like since it came out. I've been doing stuff for most of the weekend, so I haven't had a chance to. Like probably this weekend.
We'll blame college.
I'll play it. No, yeah, blame college, dude. Blame Labor Day for messing me up today. I've been all over the place today, but yeah, I'll probably play it this weekend. You know, football's starting up though, so that's gonna take priority on Sunday. But yeah, looking forward to it. It'll be fun.
So no ranked for either of you? Sheesh, I thought we were gonna be able
No,
to
I
compare.
did. I played one game. I instantly lost.
You're not even listening anymore.
Z said you're halfway. Ztan saying you're a halfway solid Ymir. Thank you, Ztantalus. That really means a lot, especially coming from an SPL decorated player such as yourself.
Oh, right.
He's been playing terrible game. Oh, Fish, you have something to respond. Ztan saying he's been playing terrible Gamebo 6 Siege.
No one's listening. I haven't been playing anything. I haven't played Siege in like a week. I mean, the new update for Siege is almost out, so then
he's
I'll be
growing up
playing
to be
it.
a big boy.
No, I'm not.
Well, I have played a little bit of ranked. I admittedly, because of the tournament over the weekend, I kind of took a pause from playing because I was actually studying. But I'm 11-2 so far, so Malum stock's up. No 5. Oh, I played like 2 games of a 5 stack, but the rest were just a duo queue with my friend. Ended up in a Zapman game, and I didn't feed my brains out, so that was sick.
Nice.
I think I'm at 1900 SR at the moment, so Malum stock's up as a player for the next couple of days. Yeah, it goes crazy. But today we got a lot to talk about, for once, because before we've been talking kind of prepping for Smite 2, but it's actually here now. We've got esports, we've got the game going on, a lot to go with, and we started already kind of touching on it, but for you guys, what's sort of been... we all have our different trenches. We run in different friend circles. What's the ear to the ground reaction you guys are hearing about Smite 2?
Fisher, what have you been hearing? What's the word of the winds that you've been getting first?
I haven't been hearing a whole ton, which I take as a good thing, right? Because people love to complain about new games, especially right when they come out. There's always people finding a ton of issues. So I think the fact that I haven't heard this game is terrible all over the place is a really good sign for Smite 2. I think we all kind of have the same friend group in here at least, and a lot of them been playing it and really enjoying it. But yeah, outside of that, nothing bad I think is always a good sign when it comes to video games.
I will say, I've seen some return to a bit of dooming for some certain peeps, but it's few and far between. I think a lot of it is more so a bit of anxiety about knee-jerk reactions in terms of patching. That's what I'm saying. A lot of debate about Invader's Curse and how we react to Sunder nerfs and how that interplay goes. That's been a big hot topic that I've been seeing. I saw Strat talk about it. I've seen Cosmic Vibes talk about it. I've seen some really good players talk about that one. That's an interesting hot point that I think doesn't necessarily reflect negativity around it, but I think maybe a bit of worry, and well-founded worry, because you want to make sure that so early in your game's life cycle you don't create that knee-jerk reflex that instantly sends your game careening into a death spiral as far as the meta goes. Do you guys have any strong opinions regarding Invader's Curse? I mean, Anthony, you were eye in the sky there casting those games recently. So do you feel like seeing more competitive play, Invader's Curse, needs to make a return? Should it?
I'm a big
Please staying out?
I'm a big Invaders Curse guy. I'm not gonna lie to you. So
Really?
I did cast, as you mentioned, the SMITE 2 tournament happened for both EMEA, which was this previous Saturday, and NA was this previous Sunday. Cowabunga won in North America, and then for the EMEA side, I actually forget the team name because I think they changed. I think they went from the Rings to Procket. I think that might be correct. Regardless, Adapting went back-to-back weekends for EMEA and his roster. But there were a metric ton of invades. I mean, it was every game, and also a big variance in skill level. Because the official broadcast, I mean, naturally they follow a lot of former pros, a lot of familiar names, but there was only one real matchup, which was Team, but with 5 M's, versus Cowabunga, which was the Polar Bear Mike roster versus Solar Trolls roster. That was kind of, the household SPL names against each other from years past. The rest would be kind of like teams like Cowabunga up against either old SCC rosters like Shabala Storm, shout out Valo, Happen for making the grand finals. Valo showed up particularly strong in game 1, but we'll talk about that in a bit. But regardless of skill level, there was a lot of invading all the time. Supports with Sunder, a lot of North American solos with Sunder. That wasn't as common in EMEA, and tons of Invaders Curse. I think, personally, I'm a big fan of it. In other games, other MOBAs, we talk about other MOBAs a lot on here because it's one of those, we're in a situation where we can more freely talk about other games, usually in a broadcast. You don't want to be on a SMITE broadcast talking about another game's meta and style. But invading,
Concord, bro.
Yeah, exactly. Invading is common in other games. I will say, I think there should be some kind of slowing down of it, maybe some slight changes and a little bit of nerfs to Sunder, but I don't want to overdo it. I like there being flexibility in starts and being a unique feel to every game. And when we go into lobby or we get in-game on a broadcast, it not instantly being a discussion of, all right, we're in, here's the intro, let's watch them farm lane for 5 minutes. It's, okay, we're in game, but we gotta rush because there's 5 people on the Chaos team who are already in the Order jungle trying to make a play happen. I really like that aspect of it.
I don't know, Fisher, do you have any strong opinions either as far as like the C2, get the analytical brain? As far as everyone else in the chat, please make sure to continue dropping your opinions as well. We would love to hear from the people who have also been on the ground. Y'all have been, feeding or getting fed on those online ranked games. I saw Skipso saying Digits has been putting in those hours, 100 so far, tests suggesting mental health therapy as a response of that, which is valid, honestly. I do hope you're doing well there, my friend Digits. Hope you're not too deep in the trenches, but
Digits,
Fishman.
aka SK Peso, aka Despondent.
So, Fisher, thoughts on Invaders Curse, man? You think it should make a return, or are we good here, sitting pretty with all them buffs in our pocket?
I don't know. I honestly don't have too much of an opinion when it comes to invading stuff and things like that. I don't care where people go on the map, whether it's like an invade meta, like you said, or honestly in SMITE 1, I don't think we really saw a ton of invasions, even with the curse. But yeah, I don't know. I don't have too much of an opinion on it. It doesn't really affect me too much. I don't care either way. As long as like the game's in a balanced state, I think that's good.
There was that one
balances it better.
There was that one game, and this is in fact when I decided that I wanted Dust on my SPL team, where Dust and his entire team 5-man invaded
The
left side
invade?
jungle. Yes, and then they surrendered right afterwards because they lost. I want to see that again.
Is that real?
Shout out to
Yeah, no, it's genuinely real.
Shout out to
It
Hindu
was
Man's mental during that game on
hilarious.
the cast. Hindu and Anatoly trying to keep a straight face, and Hindu like, yeah, okay, you're much.
He was
nicer
screaming.
Than I. Yeah.
Yeah, he was upset. He was not pleased at all about how that went.
I hate that, Marissa. Discussion topic: Kirby, but with teeth. I hate.
Get
everything about
out of
this
here!
like
What is
that.
the matter with
I
you?
hate
Even
that.
when he sucks up Wario for his neutral B, he never actually develops teeth. So canonically, I don't think Kirby's allowed to have those.
I'd be okay with it if
that's
it's
an
like the
essay.
plastic vampire Halloween.
That's such an
teeth.
essay. I gotta make the chat bigger. Wait, no, come
Jesus!
back. We can't even read it. Okay, I will read this out before we lose it. I think the invades are fine, says Zetan. It's a considerable issue for the folks who don't know how to respond to it and play around it. It'll come back around to a point where people are used to it. Used to be you would bring mid over towards duo side and start jungle over there too. It discourages invades, and there are responses for it. People just don't remember them because it's been a long time. And
It's true.
He is right. invades did have a prevalent time in Smite. It was very old. You know, a lot of people talk about season 2, season 3 in that era. A lot of invading went down at that time, and you did have some of the most unique starts to games. That is the same era where you had the envious troll that happened where they got fined, which, you know, like that's negative and positive, I guess. It's a, you know, it's a moment, but the point always comes back in my brain to flexibility of gameplay and not this sort of, you know, NPC style of play of, you know, default farming where jungles have their default path they're going every single game. You know exactly where those jungles are going with no uniqueness. Same thing with laners where if you open up that jungle, we see more unique things, and I think it'll only get more unique over time. I think there's other things you can do aside from just a knee-jerk reaction and adding back Invader's Curse to be a little bit more unique with it. I mean things like, you know, slight Sunder nerfs, maybe a timing limit on Sunder, but still allowing invades where maybe Sunder's turned off for like a minute or so. Yeah, it's a pretty interesting one. I think there's a lot of pathways you can go without reacting too harshly. And honestly, even aside from that, you could probably just wait and see how the meta evolves as well. You don't have to rush necessarily. And with Closed Alpha 2, which comes out September 17th, I believe was the date that was put out in the most recent patch notes. You don't have to over-nerf, over-balance things. I think you can kind of see how stuff works.
Yeah, Donkey fans all wondering if Closed Alpha 1 is so good, why not make Closed Alpha 2? They're doing it. So that's nice. I agree with you. I think a lot of complaint sometimes would come back, at least before the 9.5 version, of the fact that early game didn't matter. It was always the late game. So at least in this aspect, it does. The early game does matter. You could choose an early game stomp god. I think that was always possible. You could like choose something that snowballs hard enough that you just never let the enemy team's late game come online. But here it's a bit more prevalent, I think, which is, I think, neat. As we've all talked about before, we were just talking about speculating for Smite 2. The more flexibility and player control you give to someone, the more room you have to wiggle around and experiment, the more healthy of a gaming environment it always is.
I also feel... I know, when I think about invaders, I think about the starts we saw. There were a lot of unique starts, and this is more for the tourney recap, but and you can also look at ranked games, casual games, content creator games that are being streamed. There's a lot of different starts being used, and a lot of that I just feel like comes from the jungle being opened up and you having more options. Marissa says, I don't enjoy your implication. I should be thinking about a game. During a game about strategy, that's fair.
Play Cookie Clicker.
Yeah, there's too few gods in the game right now to make a definitive statement on this is too strong or this shouldn't be like this. Stuff will shift as items get balanced and more gods come out. Yeah, that's a big thing too. A big thing, we're kind of talking about reactions to Smite 2 it being out. There's not a lot of gods in the game. There will be more, and there does need to be more. I don't think many people would argue against that. I'm sure the god design team for Titanforge would probably say, yeah, we want to get more gods out. It's just a time thing, and I think once more gods are there and there's more flexibility in selections, it'll feel a little bit better, and you'll have more options, because you'll have characters, like right now, I think of characters like Fenrir, Thanatos, Athena, Bacchus, who are so good at invading, Ares as well, of course, who are so good at invading, and there's not really answers to those picks if you grab them. So it's just it's a time thing, too. But hopefully we don't see a return to Invader's Curse, and we see stuff around that to kind of allow it to develop and see how the game could be the further away. Because, you know, going back to other games, most other games have items that do true damage to objectives. It's a pretty common theme, and most other games allow invading. So it can clearly work. It's just a matter of making it work in a way that doesn't feel frustrating for any level of player to go against.
Agreed.
Fisher, anything you want to hop in? I know you seemed a little bit kind of whatever on invading, but, you know, I feel like you're somebody who I've always really liked your takes on meta and kind of theory crafting and how you can play around it. I remember during end of season 8, early season 9, when we first started casting together, you had a lot of interesting takes on, at the time, it was sort of how teams were grouping around fire, because it was happening a bit earlier in that meta. So.
Yeah, Fisher, what you got? What you got, buddy?
He's a thinker.
Not a whole ton. I mean, I haven't been doing a ton of Smite 2 thinking. Like the
it sounds like you and Marissa are in the same boat.
Yeah, no, that's one of the big things when I play Smite. I don't think I normally have a YouTube video up on my second monitor that I'm watching,
He's in the
and I just
Netflix
kind of
lane.
move my mouse like every once in a while. Yeah, for Smite. But I mean, I think like until we start to cast more and like there's more people playing, I think kind of like what Z-Tan said with more gods coming out too. That's when like
Mm,
a meta's kind of gonna pop out. I think I definitely agree. Like it's way too soon to be saying like, oh, this is broken, nerf this. There's not a big enough sample size, and there's not going to be for like in all reality probably a few months I think before we should start seeing like changes and like a concrete meta coming out because it's not like a new season update on Smite, right? Where everyone's got
mm,
everything figured out in a week. There are new builds. Like there's
it's
a
true.
certain way to play the game. It's going to take months. It's a whole new game. It's similar, but it's not the same. Like in any right.
Especially when, like you said, the sample size is so small. I forget what it is. Ah, shoot, Fish, you're in college. You should know this. The standardized normal curve when you have a sample size that actually is like
Huh?
completely unbiased. 42, I think it is. I think it's 42.
I'm not in college for whatever that is, dude.
Statistics, bro. I hated that class so
Oh,
fucking
I
much.
kind
But
of in for statistics, but I've never heard of that. So
embarrassing.
I'm gonna say
Is
that's
it the class?
an old
Is it the
people
class
thing.
you missed, buddy? That must be the class you missed today.
No, that's just an old person thing.
Standard distribution, Marissa.
Oh, the bell
Thank
curve?
you. Thank you. Yeah, I said normal curve. I said the normal curve. You
said
ain't normal, bro.
42. What are
You
you
did say
talking
Yeah,
about?
42 is the sample size, but it's about the normal curve distribution. What
Look,
you
D's
how
get
many?
degrees, so
There's
I'm
nothing.
abstaining.
There's
I
nothing
have a
about the
college
sample
degree, but
size.
I had
The curve
D's,
is
so
just the like
you won't
percentages.
be hearing much from me.
You can have some of the D's, Malum. How about that?
Yeah.
Go
Go on.
Next. Next. I'm
Next.
sorry.
All right. Next up. Ward
My bad.
debate. You know,
it
we
was
talked
right
about
there.
we talked about
10 minutes.
potential nerfs. Jesus Christ. We talked about potential nerfs for Sunder, and you know, some people wanting Invaders Curse nerfs. But what about buffs? Wards are a big topic of discussion. It was something we weren't seeing a lot of in ranked in some early streams when Smite 2 came out. But having watched every game over this past weekend, I can tell you there were a lot of wards being purchased. Wards only last for 60 seconds in Smite 2, so for a lot of people, there's been this wards are worthless kind of attitude, and wards are not worthless. I feel like it doesn't take a, you know, a philosopher to explain why wards are important. I think it's more about strategic use and timing of those wards, being able to read the map and communicate with your team and say, okay, I should probably ward now because this next 60 seconds is a little bit on the hot side. But there's been so many people who really have stood on that mountain on that podium and, you know, given the soapbox TED talk of wards suck, that I felt like we should bring it up, especially in a call of casters who have seen their fair share of ward deniers and ward believers. You know, shout out to all those solo laners who hate D-Lo for his takes on wards.
They be a lot. They number. Marissa says Socrates' take on wards that they blow. Yeah, but have you heard Aristotle's dissertation on the matter? It blows it out of the water. So you don't know what you're talking about, Marissa. Get back in college, study up on your philosophy, because you clearly are not with what's
Wait till
modern.
you find out what Marissa does for a living. Anyway, moving on.
Is she actually a philosopher? That would be crazy.
She's like, I am.
Dear sweet Jesus, I've meddled with the wrong person on this subject. But I will say, as far as words go, I'd like to think, as you said, Anthony, someone who's the almighty eye in the sky, sees all, hears all. Words are quite useful. Words are still quite useful, in my opinion, especially with objective play. I think the issue is, though, especially right now, I mean, again, I've been mostly playing casuals, so to be fair, that's not necessarily the best indication, because no one knows when to go on the objective. But when you are deciding to go on that objective, because you're a competitive play and you actually know how to coordinate, words are nice. You know where the opponents are, especially when you have a freaking objective that shuts down your entire map, shuts down all your structures off of that Ancient Fury. You want to make sure you're warding up. Sure, Oracles can do that for you, but Fire Giant's the same story. You want to make sure that you're warded up. You want to make sure you're ready for that kind of stuff, especially when you have tools like Naga that help you raid down those structures that much more easily. Words are still helpful. At the end of the day, I think it's just going to take, like we've been talking about for all aspects of the game, Invader's Curse being the same thing. The meta needs to develop. It needs time for the dough to rise, and then we can start to really understand what's what.
I'm looking up PBM streaming tonight, streaming a scrim against Rat Milk, Happen, Globe, Tegvir. PBM's team is all grouped up for it. I'm curious if I go and I look how many wards are in their inventories is kind of what I'm the most curious about.
That's
at
an
the
interesting
moment.
question.
So I will update on that while you two continue to kind of discuss wards. Fisher, I'm curious in your take. You mean you're a true C2, so surely your ward opinions are hot.
Yeah, people that say words are bad are dumb. I think quite simply, that's just
Ooh.
objectively a
That's a
really,
clip.
really bad take.
Nice.
No, that's not a clip. Don't make that a clip. But yeah,
Definitely
I
is a clip.
mean, there's a lot of people. I think probably like the biggest change to me at least is the 60 second thing down from 2 minutes. Like when you hear it, it doesn't seem like such a huge deal. Like, oh, they just put it from 2 minutes to 1 minute. Like, why does it change so much? But to say they're not important is just like so objectively wrong. I can think of probably 100 situations off the top of my head where somebody died because a ward wasn't there, or like if you had a ward, you would have been better off. You would have seen a gank come and you could have made a big play. They'll never be useless, like no matter kind of how much they get nerfed, because that was I think at least a pretty substantial nerf. But I think it's just like what we said with the meta and stuff. You have to give it time to learn it. You're not going to be able to do what you did in Smite 1, walk back to lane, plop down 2 wards in your side jungle, like if you're an ADC or a solo laner, and you're good. You can stay out there for like 5 waves, you know if anyone's coming. Like you can memorize jungle rotations based if somebody shows up on a ward or not. You know what time to get into other places. Now it's like you put it down, you got time for a wave, wave and a half. So I think it just has to be used differently. Like you got to save them for when you know you're going to play up aggressive, like when you're going to try to get really aggro on a wave, you're going to strip away neutral farm, you don't want anybody coming. That's when you got to play some. I still think they're going to be as useful late game. I don't think there's going to be any change in the way we see stuff wording around like Fire Giant, Gold Fury. Timing's never an issue with that. Unless you're just two really, really slow teams, those dances never take more than like a minute 30 at the max. So you got enough time, especially if you space them out to like cover all your lanes and stuff like that. So yeah, I mean it's a pretty big nerf, but the people that are saying wards are bad now, they're not. You're wrong. It's the wards are fine, just plays different.
Yeah, like just think about how can you say wards are useless when if you think about like how many national tragedies could have been avoided if we just had wards. Like JFK would never been assassinated if we just warded the building that Lee Harvey Oswald sniped him from.
Wards are more expensive.
All right.
The price is inflated, but they are still important. Personally, I would like to see them last longer. I would either like to see them last longer, or I'd like to see sort of so. You know, we talk about other games. A lot of games have a lot of variation of wards. Obviously, Smite 1, in its current state, there's a lot of variation and a lot of options for wards. You've got proximity wards that give a slow, Raven wards you can send flying out, ward chalices that give you 3 wards that refill on cooldown. So there's kind of a lot to it, right? I would like to see, if we don't see unique wards right away, because you want the map to develop, I would really like to see maybe variations of cost for time. That could be kind of interesting to see. So if you want to spend 25 gold for a 45-second ward, you could do that. If you want to, Sentry wards, if you have a flat cost, that could be interesting. I feel like there's a lot of interesting routes you can go with it, but I think their importance is obvious, honestly. I do want to give an update, though, because I did mention I was looking, so it's only right to give an update. I pulled up PBM Scrim. Nobody has a ward in inventory at either team, and at least for PBM's team, there are no wards on the map at 22 minutes into the game as they're fighting over Fire Giant. I will say there is a 10k gold lead for PBM's team over Happen's team, which could have a little bit to do with the lack of wards, and I cannot see the other side of the map, so there could be some out for the Chaos side. But, a scrim, 10k ahead, not the greatest example in the world. Like I said, in the competitive scene during the tournament, there were wards left and right and always in pocket. So it was something nobody was playing around with.
I would like to call back to something the chat's mentioning here. Marissa saying ward inflation is kind of insane. Same price, 50% less time. It's true. It is true. It's a lot of gold you're offering for that. We're not negating that. It's like what Kingfisher said, though. The fact is, and it's also what you said, Marissa, yourself. Wards are always going to be important because they offer something that no other thing does other than your own 2 eyes. Especially it's Smite. And I think that maybe if you were to look at a top-down MOBA, that might change because the perspective is different. But of course, Smite with its third-person camera angle, you can genuinely get jumped. You will not see them coming. In that sense, wards are all the more valuable. So that's just going to be the nature of the game where their value will always be prevalent despite those hits to it. Though I will hope that it's paid attention to. I'm not going to say changed yet because, again, Meta needs to settle. But I hope they've got an eye out for that because I want to make sure that warding is important.
Well, we talked about wards in a lot of our discussions so far, both about the launch of Smite 2 and the ward debate. Pretty much everything all sort of goes back to the tournament that happened over this past weekend. So why not do a bit of a recap of that tournament? Thankfully, you got an encyclopedia. I was sad and watched every game, the ones I did not cast. And I gotta say, it was a pretty enjoyable tournament. A lot of stomps, but there were a couple matches that surprised me. In particular, game number 1 of the North American Finals, which really surprised me. Matter of fact, I think I made a screen for this. It'd be good if I remembered to pull it up. There it is.
Oh, Mr. Screen.
Hey, Mr. Screen. I know, I remembered this time. So, one thing that really stuck out to me, I mentioned it before, but I really want to dive deep on it. Valo really impressed me over this past weekend. I'll see if I can go right to the game, matter of fact. Yeah, Cowabunga versus W. Valo played out of his mind on the Thanatos. It was Valo, Tegvir, Happen, Globe, and Karmic versus Paul, Yarkor, Solar Troll, Panatama Roar, who are Cowabunga. I will say that I do see that Rat Milk is on the scrim currently for the same roster in place of Karmic. So that might not be a final look at their roster, but for Cowabunga, that is the Cowabunga roster. That is what's been public. It's what everybody knows. Cowabunga already a popular team. Valo performed insane, but I was very impressed in this game number 1 by W. They won a few big team fights in the jungle, lots of ejected pressure. They defended very well for a long time. It looked for a minute like they might take game 1 from Cowabunga, which would have been Cowabunga's first loss out of any of the tournaments so far for Smite 2. Unfortunately, for our friends W, as a lot of them come from the amateur scene, they did not take a W. They did get swept 2-0, and Cowabunga took it. They did not lose a single game in any of the alphas. Paul did die, though. Couple of deaths.
That's nice.
In this best of 3, as well as a death earlier on in the tournament against Polar Bear Mike's team. That was probably the biggest Pro v Pro matchup that we saw over the weekend with it was Cyclone Spin, PBM. What is that roster? Goodness gracious. I put it in our channel. I'm so ahead of it sometimes, guys. I'm so proud of myself.
You're on it, man. You got it.
So it was Cowabunga, which consists of Solar Troll, Panatom, Paul, Aurora, Yarkor, as I've said. Oxy is their coach versus PBM's team, which would be, scrolling through the rosters, Cyclone Spin, Polar Bear Mike, Benny Q, Scream, and Cherio. So it was a pretty star-studded matchup. I felt very fortunate that I got to cast that semifinals, and it was so freaking fun. But I will say, I was surprised by Cowabunga's dominance in that game. It felt like it was their game to lose. They dictated every fight, everything. I mean, it never felt like PBM's team was fully in control of the game. It just was Cowabunga running it down. It was genuinely kind of shocking.
I mean, shocking in the sense of the dominance, but at the same time, they are, wolves among sheep. And that's what I want to see. I've got to imagine it is just skill, but given the fact that it's interesting, right? We're thinking about these amateur league players. They've had amateur leagues. They've had these reasons to keep in the competitive game. And obviously a lot of these former SPL pros are not sitting here twiddling their thumbs up until Smite 2's release. They're streaming and such, but not necessarily in the same competitive setting. So I don't know. I'm just hoping to see some rising stars. I want to see the upset. We're casters. We love a good underdog story, and so far, obviously, in this first week, might not be the case where it's going to happen. You still have to get in that flow state, and of course, the players who have that top tier experience and pedigree are going to be the ones who are more easily able to adapt to a new competitive state like this. But with just the fact that these players that we recognize from the amateur leagues, the ones we know and love, have been in that rat race long after SPL went away for Smite 1, I've got some high hopes that they can snap back.
There was the EMEA finals was the other one I wanted to talk about because the roster matchup was really interesting. No More Trolling consisted of Father Tom, a.k.a. Ducky, Streak Up, April, iRaffer, and Theeks. Theeks being Big Man Tings with a name change. And I gotta say, that was a roster where as soon as I read it on paper, I was all in, a big iRaffer fan from back in the day. They went up against in the finals Angry, Spudio adapting to Duin and Kha'Zix. And it was kind of a runaway for the adapting roster and Procket. They did take the finals there. It's back-to-back now for adapting as well. Hey, Gore. Hey, J-Mac. We fast forward on that back to more gameplay on it. But the EMEA side did bring a lot of interesting picks. So if you go through, and if you look at the picks overall, the top 5 picks in terms of gods during the tournament was Fenrir, Bacchus, Jingwei, and Loki. So they were either kind of picked, banned, or sort of like a first insta-lock. That was sort of the big way of looking at them. Bacchus pulled out, especially in North America, pulled through to be a massive pickup. Solo lane Bacchus right now, getting damage scaling for your protections is just so massive. And Sot in particular was blowing people up left and right.
Well, this is actually something that J-Mac and Gore themselves talked about, I think, like near the beginning of the stream, which is the fact that Jingwei is very popular right now, and it's completely, we've also seen from like the people on the ground too, that she feels a bit floaty with her agility, especially, that can't really be used as the best engage or disengage. And Bacchus and Fenrir, of course, the Bacchus gives you the knock-up, theoretically, the Floppus, to get on out, but you're so floaty that you still just get destroyed nonetheless. So that's what he does, bro. He floppuses on you, and unfortunately the Jingwei pick then becomes the flop itself. So it's interesting to see, yes, she's been a staple threat, Spirited Book, Rejoice, but she does kind of get mollywopped by those other two, despite what you might expect to be a winning matchup.
That was actually something that going into the tournament, I caught myself saying a lot on air. I was expecting to see Jingwei and Sasano be banned, but a lot of their being in the top 5 came from picks. Sasano more for North America than EMEA, but Jingwei was very much prioed, but just not the way I expected. I mean, we were seeing her go 4th, 5th for most teams. There was a big prioritization of getting Sol and Jingwei, or Neith and Jingwei, or Neith and on her, a lot of double ADCs. Kernanos did not see the light of day hardly at all in the entirety of the tournament. Sorry, Kingfisher. You can see it in his face. You can see it in his face. I felt so bad even saying that. Part of me was like, maybe I don't. But the builds.
Don't even say that, Tess.
The builds. I mentioned Neith. Builds were really cool, guys. So the most common Neith build was Bluestone, Transcendence, into Book of Thoth, into Cosmic Horror, Rod of Tahuti, Soul Reaver, and Obshard. Yes, Obshard.
It feels so weird saying those items for Neith.
Yeah, it does. That's really strange.
She was blowing people up. And that build translated as well to Odin and Chak. Very much so. Mixed scaling, getting lots of mana. Kukulkan also worth mentioning because Book of Thoth and Transcendence both give mana. That build was blowing people up. The ADC build that we were seeing very commonly was a crit build that included Fatalis, the Executioner, kind of similar to a crit build you'd see in Smite 1. A lot of the Smite 1 items that were brought over, Fisher, I'm curious how you feel about this, because I know we talked about this a little bit. A lot of the Smite 1 items brought into Smite 2, they took over in this tournament. A lot of those crazy kooky Smite 2 builds were out the window, and it was, all right, give me my book, give me my Transcendence, give me my Executioner.
Yeah.
You know?
It's coming.
Yeah, I mean, dang it. Dila said it before I could. Yeah, it's
My
comfort,
bad.
right? But like, no, you're good. Best analysis of the day goes to Dilo. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of what it is, right? It's comfort. There's gonna come a time where like the Smite 2 items, like that were designed for that game, that have all new stats, new passives, that kind of stuff, is like really gonna show up and take over. But yeah, it's a brand new game. People are obviously going to gravitate kind of towards what they know, what they're comfortable with. You know what all those items do. Like, especially now that you can build them on multiple characters, there are probably people that have for years been thinking, like, wow, I wish I could put like Soul Reaver on Neith or something like that. Then now you can, so you're just going to do that right out of the gates. I think it makes a lot of sense. I don't think it means the Smite 1 items are necessarily better, but for right now, there's not a meta. There's not really what's strong, what's not. It's kind of all about comfort early on, and I think that's why we're seeing so many of those items.
Tekko Kagi,
that's
my
like-
beloved. Test the spin.
You talked about that before, Anthony, how that's like the thing that you were kind of fearing would happen because they added all those Smite 1 items, and yeah, I mean, it's very like understandable why we're seeing it, but it's also thus understandable why we were a bit frustrated with the fact that they were being re-released into the wild, because of course you're going to go back to what you love. You're going to go back to what you know. The unknown is scary. The night is dark and full of terrors.
You know what was terrifying? Cersei's Hexstone is an item in Smite 2. It is the item that turns you into a boar and you charge forward.
Oh shit, I love this thing, man.
That item turned into... So, you get
So
one relic
fun.
choice, right? And supports, I mentioned this at the top of the podcast, supports were building into Sunder very commonly.
Yes.
So, what supports were doing, I think a PBM and a Roar at the top of my brain who did this, they built Cersei's Hexstone, turned into the boar, used that as their initiation to then get into the team fights quicker and not have to use any weird tools to get in, to then drop a big ultimate. So you'd see an Ares turn into a boar, stampede forward into the enemy team, ult, try to grab 4 and come back. It was so freaking fun to watch. That was definitely the coolest active item that consistently was used. The mushroom, my GOAT item, that continues to be a top choice. Most supports were going it essentially first, second item every time. Kind of understandable. It did get some nerfs for the closed Alpha 1, but it's still really good. A lot of supports were surviving in the jungle from it, so that was pretty interesting as well. I know neither of you got to catch the full tournament, but you played a lot too, so you can kind of use that knowledge to mix in. Active items got limited to 3, and there's lots of active choices, but some that stand out. Where are you guys in active items so far? What are the ones that stick out to you that you're trying to use a lot in your games, and so on and so forth?
I just blink. I just be blinking, and I suck at it too. Like, it's just not going well for me, honestly, but that's what I like to do. But it's just such a long cooldown, and I think I always underestimate that. And it requires a lot of strategic play for that. But that being said, the mobility that we've seen because of Cersei's Hexstone in combination with Blink, it's freaking insane. Like, some of the clips that I've seen of, like, Hades, that one that JMac posted, of being able to just move through, ult your way across, staff slam, then all the way down to, like, the gold period. The Big Mac combination with extra sauce. Like, it's really, really nuts how wacky you can get with your mobility. Yeah, my friend Piku, he sent me Ymir Shards of Ice boar charge. Like, you charge it up, you just move it. He immediately sent it to me. It's an English-speaking video, too, and he speaks Spanish, so you know he cares, which I appreciate. He really knows me well. So that's the stuff that I'm liking, man. I love jank, and there's so much fun jank potential here, and I really hope they don't neuter it. I think that Hi-Risk is kind of reveling in it, though, which I'm really happy about.
What's your go-to active fish? You strike me as a Cersei's Hexstone guy. You're going to turn into a boar, run people down. Will you turn into a boar on Carnanos?
That would be pretty sick, just to confuse the enemy. Which one am I?
You run in as a boar and then make them boars?
I would 1000% do that. But I have played a total of 1 game of Smite 2. I built an active item, what was Bloodforge. I don't think I ever used the active once. I was not used to it. I'm still not used to it. I'll start playing more, and I'll start getting more into like the actives and which ones to use. But I think, like Anthony said, the Cersei's Hexstone just objectively sounds the most fun. I'm sure I'm going to build that on nearly every god, like regardless if it works or not. Fun is king when you're playing video games, and it's just the most fun one.
It's just unique.
Yeah,
the mushroom's good too.
Yeah, Tess brings it up. Death metal is a good one as well. Talisman, which is essentially an absolution type of item. It's an AoE purification beads for your team. That was picked up pretty often as well, because a lot of players were not going purification beads. They were going combat blink.
Yep.
There was one game where there was 3 Aegises on one team, and that was kind of the most I saw it the entire weekend. That was a weird game. I think I actually had that game with Trelly, and it really threw me off. Some other notable mentions. I talked about the Neath. Soul had a great showing. Crit Soul is hitting like a truck right now. Odin had a very, very good showing. Thanatos did Thanatos things. Chalk kind of had an interesting spot. I think Chalk was getting more and more valued as the weekend went on because people were figuring out how good the intelligence strength hybrid build was. We've talked about Ares. Hecate and Mordred, the newest gods for Smite 2. How did they perform? Mordred definitely underperformed compared to Hecate in my brain. Hecate is proving to be, which also, shout out to Twitch chat for Smite Game. They were not like an Hecate. There was talk of how little damage she did, how she's meant to be a support for a while. I was shaking my head. And as soon as a prevalent mid laner picked her up, bets were off. I think it was Benny Q who was the first person who really performed on broadcast with Hecate for the North American side, not including EMEA side, because their chat did not have the same discussion. Hecate is insane. Her damage is surreal. Her first ability can blow you up. Her ultimate, open the gates. It's a game changer in a team fight and just does so much pure damage. Hecate definitely had the better showing of the two. Hecate also led to some interesting moments. I talked about the semifinals matchup between Team But with 5Ms and Cowabunga. Hecate was a contested pick between Benny Q and Paul, and there was also the Morgan that was banned away from Paul. Paul ended up going to Neath, which is sort of how we got to that weirdness. So it was pretty interesting to see. Hecate, like I said, definitely showed up more than Mordred. I think Mordred's problem is still people kind of building a little bit incorrectly, trying to play him more. I think people are trying to force him to be a Gilgamesh, where I think he's an Osiris, which I know those aren't significantly different, but when I say that, I imagine you can get a feel, a little bit of a style, maybe less Osiris and more of like an Amaterasu, because he's not about his auto attacks the same way as those characters are. But you got to be tanky enough to be able to stick with people. There was a lot of hybrid building that just was not working. Trelly and I were even agreeing on broadcast that the way to go is just be full tanky and stick on people.
Yeah, that's what we like, and that's why Bacchus and Fenrir are so good, is because they're two of the gods that do the best job at that. Obviously, Fenrir being the one you really think about when it comes to that, with that brutalize, but we're going to be seeing that for a bit, I think. I imagine there's going to be some changes. Mordred, you would figure, because they're pretty decent at sticking to people, especially when it comes to just shoulder dashing down at you and just running through walls, could also do that same job, but maybe just, I don't know, not quite understanding the power of that god just yet, not understanding how to quite utilize him. He is the newest one after all, so it makes sense. I don't know. As far as why he underperformed, Anthony, do you have any conspiracy theories for us? Why do you think the villain of Camelot just wasn't quite doing his villain stuff?
Honestly, sounds a little toxic. I don't think we saw him in hands of players who used him efficiently enough. We didn't see players like Sant pick him up. We didn't see Deathwalkers of the world, Haddocks of the world play Mordred. I feel like we'll get to see a better idea of the character when it's built a little bit more correctly. Again, I don't think like Berserkers, autos, I don't think those are bad on him. I just think he's better just kind of going that full, sort of like a Chalk and Smite 1 type of build. I think when he's in better hands, we'll see him be a little bit stronger, and maybe some slight shifts in his kit to be a little bit balanced differently. Also, his ultimate, a little bit clunky right now, which is one of the reasons that some of the more high-tier Soul Lane players, I think, were avoiding Mordred, is his ultimate is just a little hit or miss. When it hits hard. You could bring people up in the sky, do tons of damage. The Heart Slash, the first part of the ultimate, really good. But Pursue the Weak, which is the one where he dashes forward and brings people into the sky, it's just a little inconsistent right now. So I do think that was a big part of why he may not have been selected. And as Tez said in chat, does fall off pretty hard late game, and his mid game is kind of ridiculous, where early game he's just okay. And ultimately that doesn't leave a lot of space for, a high priority pick compared to Odin or Chalk. Bologna did not see the light of day either, by the way. Shouts to Bologna.
We missed you, my friend. Hopefully Eagles rally into the next server, into the next tourney. We'll see. I've got high hopes. I think as we just talked about this, like when Mordred we first started playing him, but as far as clunkiness goes in the ultimate, they just need an indicator. I think that's huge of how you know when you're hitting up multiple people. I do not understand how we can indicate that, because there's no indication. I feel like I'm standing far enough away that I shouldn't be getting whacked if I'm next to the person who's getting collateral damage, and now all of a sudden I'm up in the sky right alongside you. So that doesn't feel rewarding either on either end, because the Mordred has got no idea if they're hitting 1 or 3 members into the sky, and also the people who are getting hit got no idea where they're going to be safe and where they're going to be sorry. So I hopefully am going to see a bit of a tweak in that. I think that would be a nice way to make it feel a bit more consistent and rewarding for both the enemy and the person playing him.
Regardless, I was really happy with the tournament. I'm not sure how much you guys got to watch of it overall, but it was a really fun tournament to cast. And I think it does set up really well for the Founder Series. I think it shows the potential of the Founder Series at its peak. or not at its peak, but at its best, what it can be. I think there's definitely the writing on the wall of that, and it was enjoyable to cast for sure. That does bring us into kind of our next thing, talking about the Founder Series, guys, and that is rosters. Roster apocalypse used to be the term that everybody would use in Smite 1, of everybody trading teams, going to new teams.
It's returned.
It's back because it's brand spanking new. Kind of the first power super team that was announced was Cowabunga. I said it before, they have swept every single one of the weekend tournaments, plus the closed alpha tournament, and they filled their pockets with those prize pools. But for Founder Series,
bastards.
lots of rosters out. And I know I've been yapping a lot, so I'm definitely curious for your guys' reactions on these rosters. I'll go ahead and name off a few. I'll try to make this quick as I can. Obviously, there's some rosters that do exist and haven't had as much publicity when they've been announced, so there might be some that we miss. These are some I saw on both Twitter and Reddit, and obviously heard myself. We'll start with one that's a little bit on the more unknown end, but if you're a true kind of grinder in the competitive scene, you do recognize these names. That would be the original Wargs, running it back for Smite 2, which consists of Kana, Rapio, Gunter, Preds, and Davey. Davey, somebody you would have seen in the Content Creator Tournament most recently. A couple names from there I know we recognize from casting in different high divisions of the amateur scene as well. So a roster I'm excited about. I mentioned Cowabunga, that is Solo or Troll, Panatom, Paul, Aurora, Yarkor. Noxidelian is the coach. This is an interesting roster. So mark this one down. I'm sure this is one we're going to want to talk about because holy shit, is this roster a page jumper? Yes, iDavy is an EMEA team. I'll save the other EMEA roster for the end. I'll read NAs first. Haddix, Elion, Shinto, Nog, and Zapman. So that would be a roster we come back and talk about because that roster is just ridiculous, but also wholly interesting. Believe that is also going to be an EMEA team. PBM's team, Cyclone Spin, Pullover Mike, Benny Q, Scream, and Cheerio, as I read before. And then let's get into
reunion.
Yeah, let's get into some of the EMEA teams, because those are also just as interesting. Deathwalker's team, E-Chrome, I Silenced, Angry, Johnny, and Deathwalker. Another insane one. Genetics team, Team Risk, Streak Up in ADC, Genetics, Theeks, again, not as Big Man Tings, Jungle, Lasbra, Solo, Variety. Adapting's roster, Porsche Coast, Kha'Zix, Dardez, Adapting, and Nika. So some pretty insane rosters that have been announced. So didn't they call you after that ranked game? I was I was in a game with Shinto, Nog, and Zapman and my friends, and I could have been better, but we won, so that's all that matters. But guys, reactions to the rosters, I feel like the most interesting to talk about might be the Zapman, Shinto, Nog, Elion, Haddix team. So your initial reactions.
Fisher, I'm leaving this one to you. You know my take's going to be absolutely stupid.
Yes, I do. I like that they have Zapman, and that's about where it ends for me. You know, I think the other interesting name in there, I think, has to be Elion. Like, really common to see him from my point of view, at least. I watched like a lot of, when you look back at SMITE Pro League and stuff, I did not watch a ton of SEC. I did watch a lot of SPL and the promotion tournaments as well. And they would do play-ins like in the last couple seasons to see what new like SEC teams would be moving up. I'm probably butchering like some small detail of that, but Elion was like on a lot of those teams that all had a ton of hype going into the tournaments, never really like kind of got to that point. So I think him teaming up with these guys is just going to be good because from my memory at least, normally just teamed up with a lot of SOC guys, like never really kind of got into an SPL, like real SPL caliber roster. But like now they are. Haddock, Shinto, Zapman, all like pretty long veterans. I'm not familiar with Nog. I don't know if I'm just completely missing a name there.
Nog is a kind of SEC, SOC call up to the big leagues.
That's probably why.
A lot of pros, a lot of casters would have put Nog right at that cusp point of this player could absolutely make it into SPL. So Smite 2 sort of opened up the doors for Nog to be forward facing like that. An absolute goat, as Glacier said. Nog is one of the players that I'm so excited to get to cast, and I really hope has a breakout season to kind of, put some respect on the name type of thing.
Yeah, I mean, if that's the case, I like the roster then. I mean, I like the rest of the people, and if what y'all are saying about Nog is true, then that's definitely going to be a strong one. Plus, I'm always a Zapman fan. The three-peat, best in Smite history.
I mean, as far as my end goes, like Weekend's not on that team, so meh.
Okay.
I do.
Well,
I am a fan of the fact that Elion, like you guys mentioned, Elion is always the bridesmaid, never the bride. So it's nice as the storyline goes to try to give them that chance. The big leagues, they got some big names on top of it. Deathwalker, one of the members chosen for our all-time SPL roster, so you know it's got to be some solid stuff there. And like y'all said, Nog rising star. So I'm glad that it's got a mix of some veterans, some people who maybe have some old rigid ideas, and then you have like the young scrappy kid who gets that old man to soften their heart. And then they show that they got a heart of gold. It's like A Man Named Otto. What a great Tom Hanks movie that was. And hopefully this can be a movie too. Their season will be a successful one.
Tez says, Nog is to Paul like Johnny is to adapting. That is a really interesting comparison. That might be one that I share because next time I talk to like JMac or something, 'cause that's a really interesting comparison. I kind of don't hate that. I could see that a lot. There were some other rosters too. I did want to mention that actually kind of skipped my brain. I gotta go to Twitter for it. Yeah, it's a really great way to say it, Tess. Shout out Ragna, my goat, who you would have seen compete at the Content Creator Cup. I talked to Ragna a little bit in Georgia. Very nice. But a roster I'm super into, and it's a very global roster. D-Lo, I'm going to go ahead and send you a screenshot of this, just in case you recognize any names from it. But they are going as the new gen, which, if you're naming yourselves the new generation, I feel like you're not playing games. But that roster consists of Seagull, Raze, Renegin, I don't know how to say the support's name, Astianix, and Ragna on ADC. I am obsessed with that roster, and D-Lo, from the screenshot I sent you can see, a very global roster, probably one of the most interesting.
Huh. That is it. We got members from Spain, Switzerland, I'm seeing, France, Ireland. I don't recognize that other flag, unfortunately, from Astianix, but I'd imagine it's Slovakian of some sort, just based on the name, potentially. That is really interesting.
Right?
I've got to imagine, hopefully the comms are like all settled and they know which language they're going to be speaking in, but that's really interesting, and I like to see that international cooperation, man. That's nice. That's kind of cool. It obviously is mostly, it is all, in fact, European there, so at least they're not, no question of what region it's going to be camping out in at
Right.
least, but that is, because there's, what we talked about last week, those different philosophies of Smite. And yes, EU is its own ecosystem, but I have to imagine, too, that even within EU, there's probably microcosms of different ways to play. Maybe the Spanish meta is different than the French meta to some extent. I don't know. It very well could just be copium and me there not quite understanding that side of the pond. But you got to imagine that with all those different perspectives, there's a lot of different ways to look at the game, and especially when we're in this experimental phase of competitive leagues and competitive Smite, now's a good time to start experimenting, get a bit crazy, start to crack some ideas out the pot, and just throw whatever is against the wall you can and see what sticks. So I like the fact that they have all these different POVs. I think it makes for a nice and interesting team.
I would be remiss not to mention this roster. I don't know what its final makeup is, so I want to make it clear. This isn't like for example, the Haddock Zapman roster. The roster announcement was a leak of Solar Troll talking about the team that somebody put on Reddit. This isn't me leaking a roster. It's just one I've seen compete in the closed alpha tournament and the weekend tournaments that I've been a big fan of and kind of hoping to see them do well, hoping to get to cast them in the Founder Series in some of those upper brackets. But the roster that will consist of some variation, as I talked about earlier, of Valo, Happen, Globe, Tegvir, Ratmilk, Karmic. I don't know what that final roster looks like. And maybe they don't either. Maybe they're still trying things out. I'm not sure who the captain, leader of that team in the roster makeup is. I just want to see those players do well. I mean, and I've said this before, it's not even a bias thing. It's more of a, those are kind of like, that's the roster that when I was casting 2 years ago with Kingfisher and SDL, we were casting those rosters in SDL Draft League amateurs. We were saying, man, one day these guys are going to blow up the pro scene. They have to. There's no way. There's a future of the pro scene, so there's got to be new players someday. those are the players I think of. I think of the Valos, the Tegvirs, the Rat Milks, among others, of course. I'm not saying it's limited to them. Just that particular roster makeup. Whatever their final makeup, execution of that roster ends up being, I'm just hoping they do well, and I'm really excited to see them. That is a team for sentimental value, but also kind of them and New Gen in particular are two teams I think of when I think of... I hope they make it far, because that would be good for the esport of Smite.
Yeah, you want to see new talent rising to the top because that means that there's a ceiling to reach for. If you just see, I think that'd be a really big shame, and it's no one's fault. Obviously, this does happen because it would make sense on one hand. But if we did just see Cowabunga win, okay, it sets us up with a nice villain arc going into our future SPL seasons. That's cool, but you kind of hope that there's some new talent that can take the throne because that's fun, that's exciting, it's fresh. At a certain point, there's a reason why who is it? LeBron James said everyone hates greatness. Everyone wants you to be great until you are, and they fucking hate you for it. It's true. We currently look to see these new rising stars take their own seat on the top throne because we want to see something new. And then once they do, then they're the villains that we want to see knocked off the saddle.
Yep.
I think it would be a shame if we see Cowabunga just continue their path of dominance, where we've just got to hope that these underdogs can find a way to scrap forward.
Fisher, I know you're right there with me in that feeling of bias and just kind of hoping we get to see that roster makeup. Like I said, some variation. I think you're right with me in just wanting to see them do well because we were having those conversations on broadcast in SDL. Man, one day these players, you'll see them one way or another.
Yeah, definitely would be cool. I'm even to see them kind of being mentioned at this level is already pretty sick. Oh yeah, kind of like you said, year and a half ago, I was talking about these guys playing it out in a tournament for a few thousand gems, bottom amateur level, and now they're all the way at the top there. It definitely is cool to see. Like you said, probably gonna have a little bit of a bias. It still depends on what the end team is and what other players go to other teams,
Of course,
and stuff like that. But yeah, definitely gonna have a little bit of bias towards the people that we know of, right? That we've seen throughout a little bit of the journey, at least. Not all of it, but a little bit. We were there, so that's definitely cool.
Nice, Storm. Good to see you. Thanks, chat, for hanging out and participating. A couple other worthy mentions, of course, are players that are well known that are yet to be on rosters in announced forms. There's way more than I could mention in one sitting. Yes, D'Lo Weekend is not on a roster at the moment. But players like Fine OK of the world, things like that. There's a lot of rosters yet to be announced. There is still a lot of time. The Founders Series gets started on September 14th. That's my birthday. I'm turning 28, and I'll be casting the Founders Series. What a day for me, selfishly. Cannot wait. Ticket sales for Vegas do go on sale the 13th of September, so make sure you are waiting for those. Those go fast, as we've all learned. And this Friday, the recording of this is... what's the date? The 3rd of September. This Friday, September 6th, at 1 p.m. Eastern on Smite Game, in place of Casual Friday at the start, Hindu Man is doing a Q&A about esports. So any question you have, anything you want to talk about, that is where you're going to want to go to make sure you get to learn that. And, don't be afraid to ask questions and stuff about the amateur scene and whatnot. Everyone's calling me old, dude. This hurts. ISL called me Unk, and I still haven't gotten over it. I still mention it on the daily. On the topic of other news, at the same time, for everybody hanging, we're going to go ahead and start up a giveaway. Let me get that started here. So while I get that started, D'Lo, you are in something really cool coming up here soon.
I am.
Which is the return of Smite Prime. So can you give us the day, maybe a little bit about Smite Prime and its prize pool currently? I think it's in its announcements while I get this giveaway set up.
Yeah, whoops, I completely forgot that. Yeah, I was like, what are you talking about? I'm up for something cool. Yeah, it's on Friday. Gonna be at... Shoot, now I gotta think of the time zones. For me, I believe it's 8 o'clock Eastern Standard... 8 o'clock Argentinian time, which I think is 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, I think. It might be 6 o'clock. I always mess up my time zones here. It's 6 or 7 o'clock. Don't worry me on that, but it is a big prize pool. I think it's, crap ton of gems or something like that. A whole
crap
metric
ton.
It's a whole metric ton.
It's in the. If you go to the announcements in the actual Smite Prime Discord, I think it's in.
Oh, my bad. Hold on. Can we actually do that?
I tried to help you. I even gave you that hint at the start too.
It's definitely a whole metric ton of gems. There's definitely going to be a lot of them, and everyone knows we're all waiting to find a way to use this crossover
First
gems,
place
so.
is 2,400 diamonds. Second place is
crap ton.
1,200 diamonds, and third place is 600 diamonds. Thanks.
That's
Tess,
a
for
crap
also
ton.
finding that.
I think I'm correct. Thank you, Tess. 24, 12, 6.
Type Smite
Some
2
nice,
in the chat as well.
nice
to enter the
divisible
giveaway.
numbers. Love some nice divisible numbers there by 6. So you really could tell they're thinking about making it mathematically just perfect for us. As far as what it is, it's the return of the advent of amateur, right? I got in the casting scene after this even happened, so I had to be put up to speed as far as what Smite Prime is, but it's really cool. It's just tournament style. It's best of ones, so you get your one, and then you're done if you lose. And hopefully you stay in it to win it, which is 24,000, 2,400, which is quite a bit, honestly. And also it's a good chance to prove your mettle in a bit more of a casual setting. So sign up. So far, we know our Smite players. They love to arrive late to the scene. I know that we're going to probably have a ton more teams so far, but we're expecting to have a decent amount listed out in the roster. So to make sure that you can fit your way on in, get your team, bring it aboard. Come on.
Yeah, if you already have a Smite 2 key, go ahead and enter. That's fine by me. Give it to a friend. I have plenty of keys to give away, so I wanted to give one here. Smite 2, no spaces to enter that giveaway. I'll roll that when we're done going through news. So we touched on that. I do want to shout out, I cast for them last night, did their grand finals. But NATO's Draft League, they will be coming back for Smite 2. Where's the announcement he gave me? I'll go ahead and read parts of that. Nate, here he is. NATO's Draft League, we back and better, possibly with a rebrand and a name change. Sorry for that, everybody. I know that's everyone's favorite league ever. They're going to return and have their first official season 1 in Smite 2. The prize pool for their first season in Smite 2 will be at least $1,000, according to Nate, but could possibly go higher. I know, so pretty significant for a draft league. Haven't seen one that large for a draft league since I think SDL.
Man.
The draft league will be open to more than just collegiate players as it is currently, and that is currently more announcements, more details in the coming weeks for that. So make sure you join up for that. I'm very excited personally for that. I think just leagues getting into Smite 2 in general is awesome. Smite Prime, NDL. I know there's a couple other leagues looking at running tournaments sort of separately from all that stuff. I'm just excited. And Smite Prime as well. I'm happy that Smite Prime is back. Smite Prime was a big part of Smite 1. Actually, I have lore with Smite Prime, just that I always wanted to cast for Smite Prime. I didn't know how to apply or sign up, so I never did. And now I probably won't because I'm hired, so that feels rude to even try, but it's just funny lore that I never got to. I get to cast the Founder series, which I'm so fortunate to do, and Smite Prime is back, and I get to watch Smite Prime now as a viewer. So kind of cool lore for me. I'm happy it's back. It's really important for scenes to have tournament options, and of course tournaments of that size and popularity. So excited for that for you guys. Is there anything? I think there was another thing I wanted to say, but I can't remember it. I'm the worst. Anything you guys have going on while I read through my notes?
Yesterday I did a bit of VOD review. I don't know if people are familiar. I do a bit of VOD review on my side of the channel. A little bit of crash course casting. So if anyone is looking for some VOD review in your sense, I know we've got some Dear Agni questions that'll be coming up later about casting, so I know people are still interested, and now's a great time to start. So if anyone's interested in VOD review, anyone's interested in getting their head start in the casting scene, I've been doing that. I know Morton, man, over on the side of ISL, has been doing his own stuff as well.
Test one to give away.
Let's go!
That's so rigged.
Deserved, honestly. The best.
W test.
Test.
For all the production, and the least I can do is get you a Smite 2 key. I will get you that Smite 2 key after the podcast. The last bit of news! We're getting a guest! Claps! We have our first guest locked in, guys! Fisher, clap! Thank you. We have our first guest locked in. Our first guest. Clap. I don't have a date yet. Potentially next week. It could be a week after because they are busy right now. Our first guest will be Innocent Rabbit, a.k.a. Max Making, the person behind the matchmaking for Smite 2, the data guy, as you might have seen. Max will be joining and talking with us, and we get to talk some matchmaking and also play some games and learn a bit about Innocent Rabbit and the person who is behind the matchmaking for Smite 2. Not just going to be a 2-hour Q&A. We'll have mostly fun, but I'm excited to just learn a bit about him and talk Smite 2 matchmaking. So look forward to that on the horizon. But that's our first guest for late at Smite, and I'm excited. Oh, I hope he brings all the graphs and charts. I hope I'm overwhelmed, if anything, trying to show them. Show D-Lo a bell curve. Exactly.
I know what the standard normal curve is. Y'all didn't. It's 42. I'm going to look this up right now. I'm tired of this. Hold on.
So we'll have that
Continue,
soon.
Anthony. I'm sorry.
Congratulations to Tess on the giveaway. But yeah, super excited to have Instant Rabbit join us and go through a discussion there. We'll get to the casters and stuff first, but I thought it'd be fun to have somebody who's such a topic of discussion right now and the new takes on matchmaking. Updates went live tonight about matchmaking, and he's very transparent and showing data. He posted a chart 20 minutes ago showing the correlation of kind of match times and whatnot. So, yeah. I need to know why I'm
30.
at 700 MMR in Smite 1. I don't know if you're going to want an answer from Rabbit. Data people are honest, you know? Data people are scarily honest. I wouldn't want that.
Yeah, sometimes don't meet your heroes. Don't meet the reason behind your ELO numbers either.
All right, well, as Cat's screaming at me in the chat, let's get to the next thing, which is our first fun thing. We're in the fun stuff now. God mashup.
The whole last hour has been fun. What do you mean?
The whole last hour. Yeah, true. Cat hasn't found her niche. Exactly, Tess. Exactly. So, where did I put my own instructions for the game? We're calling this Freaky Mythos, aka just a god mashup. So, what we're going to do, any god in Smite 1, and including the 2 new gods in Smite 2, you are going to combine 2 characters and come up with like the coolest combination of the 2 characters you can think of. You combine their abilities, and you're going to present it. And then we're going to do a vote on who had the coolest concept of a combination of characters. So just for kind of a baseline example, you know, I'm sure Dilo's going to use Ymir, so this is risky of me to use this, but it'd be like giving Neith's backflip to Ymir. And then you make a full kit. Graceful. You make a full kit out of that.
That would be really funny, actually.
So I'll give you guys some time to kind of think on this, because obviously I've had a little bit of extra time to think about it, and I had a few ways I was thinking about going about this, and I'm still kind of debating it, and I'm not fully feeling confident.
In my journal,
I wanted to go funny, chaotic. There was parts of me that wanted to go like realistic. Like for a while, I was on this Ho Yi and Thanatos kick where the Suns were gonna execute.
Where's my journal?
Which felt really toxic, where if you had marks on people and the Suns came down, it would go, you know, bang bang. People are just dying left and right. I have decided.
Hold on.
You okay over there?
Dilo's battling it out with something.
I have decided, and I kind of feel like a lunatic for this. I'm going with Khepri and Mordred.
I like the Khepri.
That's interesting.
So, Khepri's keeping his god model. Big beetle. Big battle bug. But his front 2, like, the pinchers that go down, they're going to hold the 2 swords of Mordred.
Like in the pinchers, or the swords are the pinchers?
In the pinchers.
Okay.
He's holding the swords in the pinchers. Same auto attack chain as Mordred, not the Khepri auto attack chain. The 1 is still Khepri 1, so he, puts his swords out, locks you in, and pulls you towards him. The 2, okay, the 2 is going to be Mordred's first part of his ultimate. So Heart Slash, where he sticks his sword forward and he roots anybody in that path and they're rooted. It heals our Khepri Mordred hybrid and gives them a shield. That's the 2. So you've got essentially 2 pieces of lockdown. The 3, this is the one where I'm getting a little bit on the spicy side, because in a weird way, Khepri's 3 is similar to Mordred's main ult. So Khepri's 3 is of kind of like Scarab's Blessing, but instead of reviving it, you put it on an ally, and if they die, you get some of their stats. Was kind of what I was thinking. Was like kind of like instead of reviving, you just get a little bit of a buff for yourself. Whether it's a shield, it kind of goes with Mordred's 2, but you take a bit of their stuff. I didn't think too deep on that because I really wanted to have both ultimates included. And then for the main ultimate, It's just Mordred's Naruto run. Swords out. Kepri's picking somebody up, but he's spinning them with his with his claw swords.
With his claws like a
and
pizza? That's fun.
Yeah, he's flipping them up in the air like pizza dough, like you said. Exactly. And then
That's cute.
For passive. So Kepri's passive in Smite 1 is kind of as time ticks, he gets a shield. But there's a lot of shield in the kit already. So for passive, we're giving him Mordred passive. But his wings pop out, the little wings when he jumps, you know? So he gets the shoulder tackle, but as he shoulder tackles, his little wings pop out.
That's adorable. I'm a fan.
Kepri Mordred hybrid. Probably OP. A little bit of cheating, because I did change one of the abilities a little bit. But I feel like I didn't change it too drastically. And I just feel like that would be a lot of fun.
Fisher, I'm finishing my visual aids for my concept, so could you please go first?
Ooh, okay. I can go. I'm not terribly familiar with the exact guidelines around this, so Anthony,
It's kind
you'll
of
have to
rough.
tell
It's
me
kind of rough.
if I'm making it too OP. But
fake it till you make it.
I'm basically going for a matchup of Uller and Ra, right? That's kind of what I'm going for. But instead of Uller in the bow form, I'm basically just making him Ra. so for the one, right, I wanted to keep it as Uller's axe stun, but if you're in the other form, it's just Ra's beam, right? So like similar to that. The two,
This is OP. Yeah.
I'm taking I'm taking Uller's ult and just putting it at 2. Like 2 is just the stand switch between the axes and staff.
So
right?
kind of like tier, where tiers 3 is the stat switch. Okay.
Yeah, like that, just moving it. For the 3, I want to keep Uller leap, but when you land, you pop the Raw blind, and then just Raw ult for the ultimate. In essence,
man.
I just want to make the most freaking annoying
That's
god
not
to play against.
that's not
in,
as
like,
broken as I
any-
expected, because I
any
thought you were
time in
gonna
the
take the Lord Poseidon approach and make him broken, but that's not like
No,
it's not out of
no,
control.
I think the only thing
What are we
you
thinking
miss
for
out on
passive?
in the kit is the heal. I was just gonna give him Raw's passive, Speed of Light. I
Okay,
wasn't
okay.
gonna make a new passive.
Yeah, his jump blinding you is fucking hysterical.
Actually, his new passive is he has the Raw heal around him at all time. But no.
That's so funny. So, is there any like benefit of kind of combining the right stuff, where Uller's got his sort
Okay,
of
yeah. Hear me out. Hear me
1-3-1
out.
combo?
Yep. So you Uller leap into the blind, hit him with the axe stun, then stand switch and hit him straight in the face with the Raw ult. That's combo. And you can't tell me that's not like
what's the cast time?
most toxic
Just like
thing.
a
Instant, of course.
I think you still have some time. D-Lo Glacier said, "Okay, hear me out." So we've got
Speed
a
sketch,
hybrid of
speed
Kepri
sketch.
and Mordred, and we've got a hybrid of Ra and Ul. So far, hear me out. Kumba ult Mez, Kepri pluck root.
I wouldn't install the game. I wouldn't even.
Tez does bring up a fair point. Why are you stance switching into Ra ult?
So you can hit him with the Raw beam if the ult doesn't kill him. What are you talking about? So you leap in, right? And you stun with the axe. That's when you go to the staff to do the ult and the beam.
So you're basically, and this is at Glacier, you're making a character with every CC in the game.
If it's just roll either way. So you can hit him with the beam after, Tess. Gotta think.
Okay. I think my visual aids are good enough here.
I do like the
this
all
is actually
CC
tough.
chain from Glacier. All right, D-Lo, floor is yours.
Oh, this is actually really tough. I'm debating because I know what I want to do.
I knew
here.
this was going to be a lot for D-Lo, by the way. Can I just say that?
I'm so indecisive, dude. This is really hard.
Thinking about it wrong. I don't want to
Okay,
admit that I'm wrong.
so-
you're wrong.
I know that I want one of them to be Gilgamesh. I think it's got to be Kleena. No, Kleena and Gilgamesh is what I think it's going to be.
Okay.
Okay, so, and here's my thinking. I only want him to have 2 abilities. Only 2 abilities. I don't even care about the rest. And the Kleena passive. Okay. So here's my visual aid. My thought process is okay. So we'll start.
Here, let me go D-Lo full cam real quick.
Thank you. Let's see if I can. I'm really okay. So this is
a
the
really
first
good
panel.
drawing.
This is the first panel, right? You can see. Is it not focusing on the camera? It's not focusing very well.
It is not focusing.
There it is. So you can see this is the. There it is. That's Kleena hiding in the wall, right? And she's invisible because she's in the wall. And this guy's just strolling along. I keep getting confused by the camera. This guy's strolling. He's whistling. He's having a good time. In the second frame, as you can see, damn it, pencil goes over this way to the right and then to the left. It's Gilgamesh drop kick out of the wall, and he still doesn't see it coming, right? Damn it, he doesn't see it coming, right? So he's still whistling. And then in the third panel, he gets hit by the drop kick out of the wall, and he doesn't see it coming. So that's a lot of fun. That's my idea. I essentially like the idea of just like being able to drop kick someone without them knowing where they're being drop kicked from. So it's debating between Loki and Gilgamesh. Maybe it should be Loki. I'm not gonna lie. I drew a Jester's hat on him because it's the last laugh Loki. But
I made this whole bit for
too.
D-Lo. I'm just gonna keep it a buck. Full transparency.
I feel like that's the most. Why is he hunched over? Because he's stealthing. Tess, okay, idiot.
Does it
stupid.
still have the cleanest scream if you get caught in the drop kick? Do you are you jump scaring people too? Kind of like Freddy Fazbear.
I feel like what it should do is it should deafen and blind you, and also you can't taste anymore. That's also new, like since you've been robbed of in real life.
All right, then.
you have to get like a brain diode installed to play my version of Smite, but I feel like we should get more sensory deprivation in this game. I think that's a good idea. I've been waiting for there to be a time where someone gets raw blinded and Cleo deafened, so I could call it the Helen Keller. Haven't got the chance yet.
Wait, what?
Get it? Because blind.
Yeah, I get it, brother.
And deaf.
Mm-hmm.
Use both of those. If you decide to believe that. Tess was talking about conspiracy theories earlier, and to be fair, that's also one that's been going around. So,
Oh my gosh.
that's my God presentation, though. Thank you guys for listening.
I'm so regret that I listened.
Yeah, well, luckily,
not
if you
actually.
get the Helen Keller, it's not gonna be a problem anymore, buddy. I'll tell you that.
I don't know what to say.
After 3 episodes, it's always D-Lo that takes us off the rails at some point.
Lord Poseidon saying, I thought of that as well when Cleo had a deafen. Great minds think alike. What can I say?
They are minds.
There's a poll in chat. There's a poll in chat of who had the best combo. Malum with Mordred and Kepri, D-Lo with Cleo and Gilga, and Fisher. I put Cleo to McLeana. And Fisher with Uller and Raw. So vote on your...
Important. Are we allowed to vote for ourselves?
No. Don't skew your poll.
You shouldn't, but I guess that's one free vote.
I'd say we should be allowed to vote, but only for other people. Only for someone else's idea.
Sure.
Did you already vote for yourself, Fisher? Is that vote for you?
No.
Okay.
No, I didn't actually.
Son
I'll vote for one of you guys.
Wrap up.
What did you call me? I didn't even do it. That's crazy.
No, that doesn't. My bad.
We'll wait for that to finish. I'm still recovering from what D-Lo said. I gotta be...
Yeah,
I didn't say anything.
I can't access the poll mobile diff. Oh no.
Okay, well then.
That's rough.
Glacier, who would you vote for?
Yeah, who would you vote for? Because I mean, realistically, we're close to a tie. Oh, so we got a 3-way tie? That's crazy. That's
Damn,
crazy.
really?
Yeah. If you
Nice,
include
man.
Glaciers, we got a 3-way tie.
That means we're all creative.
Who's gonna come in and
I like
break
it.
everything down?
You know what? Hold on. Fisher's dad's watching.
Mr. Wheel. Wait, no. Just my dad doesn't know any Smite God, so I don't think he would have much input.
Fisher's
No,
dad's
ju-
definitely
like to
voting for
imagine
his son. This is rigged.
just send it to Mr. Wheel to decide if it's a 3-way tie.
All right. We'll see. We'll wait till the vote ends.
Mr. Screen, not Mr. Wheel. Oh gosh.
I was gonna say,
Mr.
who
Wheel
the
is
hell is
Mr. Screen's long lost.
I was
brother.
thinking, who's Mr. Wheel? It's like a children's character. I was confused about.
All right, wheel spin.
Mr. Wheel.
If I go through all this process, the wheel spin, and then the poll ends, and there's a clear winner, I'm gonna be a little pissy. All right, so
No, it's still saying. Don't worry.
so D-Lo, Malum, Fisher. I can't believe we already tied. That's kind of crazy. Go us, you know. Go us.
We're creative.
Creative bunch. Alrighty, main monitor. Show it. There we go.
All right, this wheel didn't pick me until last time, and I was personally very offended. So, Mr. Screen, pick me first, please.
What you got?
All right. First, I should probably end the poll if I can do that. Does it let me?
Mr. Screen Wheel, turn. Show us the vote that they
And
will
the winner
earn.
is in first place. Or should I do this? Should be third, right? Fuck.
No, first. You can't say that
Fuck.
when it's gonna land on me.
Well,
That'd be kind of good, actually.
Kingfisher.
Fisher takes it. Fisher takes it.
in first place. Second place on the podium, silver medal. Ooh, fuck!
Hey!
Rigged!
It's reversed order at the first time. There you
And
go.
third
Mr. Wheels so fair.
place. Imagine.
Somehow lands on like glaciers.
Nice. I
All
felt
right.
happy with my second.
Congratulations
Okay
to
with that.
Kingfisher winning the God mashup. We all should have known it was going to be rigged for Kingfisher.
Yeah.
He's too popular.
Hey, it had to be eventually, okay? At least it's like in one of the quick tiers, you know?
All right. Dear Agni time, everybody's new favorite thing, which means we're switching hosts and switching
Yay.
screens over to the Dear Agni screen with your host for the segment, D-Lo.
Woot woot. Dear agony time. Look at my. Alright, I gotta call attention because I'm so pleased. Look at him. Look
Other
at my. Damn
corner.
it. I always. Yes, thank you. Look at my little guy. Look at him. Look at how cute he is. You guys could never. All you in the frickin' chat could never get as cute as my little Agni guy is. Come at me.
You're gonna say
Anyway.
that when we're on camera, like right beside you. That's
No,
crazy.
I haven't seen chat. Y'all are adorable, but look at my little guy. He's so fucking cute. I'm so proud of him. Anywho's, welcome to Dear Agni, everyone. Advice column extraordinaire. All your Smite troubles, esport troubles, we shall answer them to the best of our abilities any god of fire could do with our dual heads. That being said, we got quite a few submissions here. Thank you guys very much for your participation. And we have some also left over from last week. So we'll start off with the old, and then we'll get into... Actually, there's one that's got to be addressed first. Anthony, I'll be pasting this in with you real quick, but... Interesting one. It's someone who's decided to reveal their name. They're feeling a bit brave
Ooh, okay.
about that. I know, not quite expecting that, but you know what? Sometimes the time calls for you to take a stand, and in this case, one of our viewers has certainly done so. So, Dear Agni, I was disheartened last week by the vile and insulting words that were spewed about me and my love for waffles. Waffles are a treasured breakfast food that many, many people love. They have these ingredients that hold all the beautiful toppings and sugary syrup and butter. They have made fun different types of waffle makers that can create all... You have to type these? Copy and paste.
Well,
that can create all these pretty
anyway.
and fun shapes and sizes for your waffles and add creativity to your breakfast meal. Pancakes are so easy to fail to make. Skill issue. Sorry, I shouldn't say it yet. They can get flat
It's
and
a
stale.
pancake. You flip it.
Burn. We gotta hold it, Agni. We gotta hold it. But you're right. They can get flat and stale, burn very easily, and you have to put in so much work to create fancy and fun designs and shapes. Waffles are superior. IHOPs are always going downhill, whilst Waffle House is always on the up and up. In views for fight videos, maybe. People make Waffle House memes, yet I've not seen IHOP memes unless it's for their crappy promotions. Waffle House is for the people, by the people. Okay, valid. D-Lo, I hope you can forgive my cruel words. Hey, it's about me. But I was filled with so much emotion from hearing my favorite casters all be so distasteful of my favorite breakfast food. All right. Anthony, just know that I know where you live. Oh. And lastly,
Oh,
Fisher,
no.
drunk pancakes do not make pancakes better than waffles. In conclusion, I hope
100%.
we can all move on from our mistakes and understand where we went wrong and learn from them. Sincerely, Kat. P.S.
Yeah.
Victoria, I miss you and love you, even if you picked pancakes over waffles. Likely start here to get off to it, guys.
Fisher, you
but,
can go first because I'm still trying to make this thing fit.
Oof.
Okay.
I forgive you, Kat.
We didn't. I can't speak for them. I didn't badmouth waffles. I still think waffles are great. Like that's it doesn't mean the waffles are bad if we like pancakes better, because all you say like
Yeah.
like they can hold toppings, like they can hold pancakes can hold all that too. And pancakes, it is so much easier to make a good pancake than it is a good waffle. You don't need a waffle maker. You don't need like a special
agree.
batter or stuff like that to turn the stuff. You throw some
It's true.
pancake mix with water in a pan and you flip it. It's just easier, you know. It's a more forgiving shape, you know, like with the syrup. It's so hard to spread out on a waffle. It gets stuck in like all the squares. You know,
Also true.
it's just
I give up.
pancakes are more convenient.
I can't type this one.
Dude, you tried, buddy. That's okay. So,
I'm just
all right.
expanding while Anthony's having a breakdown in the background over like word font.
And like you didn't even address it, but I will ride out to battle for you, Fisher, in the fact that yes, drunk pancakes don't make pancakes better than waffles, but the fact that it's pancakes is what makes it better than waffles. It's not the drunk aspect, it's just the pancake aspect, which I think you're failing to recognize. So get
Yeah,
good,
well,
you know? Anthony?
Pancakes all around.
I just fucking like food. I don't know if it's that complex
Yeah,
for
man.
me. Like, I'm just usually a pancake guy. There have been some waffles I've had that are better. I don't know if it runs that deep. Like, Nerf gun to my head, I'll probably eat either one and be plenty happy and
Yeah,
thank whoever's
sure.
feeding me. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Cats made this like such a polarizing debate. Like, I don't know why it has to be so black and white. The fact of the matter is, waffles are good, pancakes are good. Pancakes are just a little bit better. That being said, Tess is coming for Fisher's neck right now. Fisher's response is just, "Please, I'm too poor to own a waffle maker." I bet he didn't buy the.
It's so
either.
big, it's so inconvenient. When I already have a frying pan for other food, I don't have space in the apartment to store a waffle maker without, like, I don't know,
Hey,
putting
you're
it
in
on the
college,
living
dude.
room table. Yeah, I'm not buying a waffle
Last
maker.
night when I was casting the NDL finals, the prize pool was $250 for the winning team. So I was like, man, that's a book
much is
for
a waffle
some
maker?
people. You know, that's
Amazon.
so much ramen.
Amazon waffle maker. Let's see. Amazon waffle maker is worth 30,000 pesos Argentinian, which to translate, that's what my freaking thing's on. Okay, it's about $25 then. And that's
Okay.
like probably a low
That's-
quality waffle
Okay,
maker.
so
like
like,
6
let's
times
be
what's
fair.
in my
That's
account.
that's not outrageous. But with $25, I could buy like $5 or $5 of pancake mix and just get
Yes.
more for the money versus having to buy a specialized waffle
It's
maker.
true. Like, and also cleaning a waffle maker is a bit more of an
Yeah,
arduous task.
that's a whole hassle.
So I'm with you on this one. And
Okay, but
Kat,
what about
appreciate-
going out? I'm sorry, I'm derailing. What about going out?
No,
though?
it's fine. It's fine. This is fine. This is fine.
Depends on the place.
Yeah, it does. Like, so
Yeah.
are we talking that low? Because the lowest barrier to entry for each is IHOP and then respectively Waffle House, right? So respectively,
Okay.
if we're comparing those two lowest bars.
But only food,
As far
because
as vibes-
if you compare vibes, it's not a discussion.
I-
Waffle House wins.
Okay, no, you're right. You're right. That's
Wait,
not
hold,
fair.
hold
That's
up.
not
I
fair.
have a quick caveat. I've never been to Waffle House.
You're missing out on an
Me
Aura
neither.
festival.
I have to
You guys
buy-
are missing out
like,
on
bow out.
Aura festivals.
Dude, the yellow in the sign scares me, okay? It's like a deterrent. In nature, if it's
What?
bright, it's poisonous.
Are you a
Stay away.
mosquito? What the hell's the matter with you?
The fuck?
Fuck you.
Dude's got 8 eyes.
The yellow. Are you like afraid of the screen right now, dear Agni? You're like covering your eyes. You're like, yeah.
Too much
You
yellow.
good, bro?
Dude, my
My
monitor's turned
defensive
off. I'm not
instincts are
even
kicking
looking.
in. I haven't evolved yet.
Dude has to turn when he pees. Every time he pees, he's like just like this.
Oh,
he
jeez.
can't even aim.
Yeah, he's like,
Can immediately tell I made a mistake with that comment. All right, this is off to
Why
an
is he
incredible start.
screaming? Is it from the pain or the color? Fisher's just always hydrated. Fisher's just always on that.
oh.
Oh, okay.
He
So
holds
guys,
up 2 piss
Tess-
bottles.
Oh my god, yeah, we're correct. That's Lord accurate right there.
No.
Lord Poseidon saying, I've never been to a Waffle House either, but could be because I'm in the PNW. PNW? Pennsylvania. Oh, no, wait.
Pacific Northwest.
Pacific Northwest,
Pacific
thank you.
Northwest,
Gotcha.
I think. No, that doesn't seem right. That's the Atlantic. Fisher's scared of
They're in the
McDonald's.
ocean.
I'm not a McDonald's fan.
That's valid, though. Okay, so going back to it, though, we can't list it ourselves. So, Anthony, you're the one with both sides of experience, pancakes versus waffles, as far as lowest bar.
I think food-wise, I'm gonna get both places the best
Oh,
chance.
yes.
I'm talking like the best cook, best
Sure.
option at a Waffle
Sure,
House,
sure.
best case scenario for an IHOP. I think the IHOP menu is gonna take it. Aura Waffle House by a million, not even a discussion.
Well, yeah. You get a
And-
dinner to show.
Yeah, and genuinely, I've had some crazy things happen at a Waffle House. The craziest experience I ever had at a Waffle House was I went to high school in Florida. I don't live there anymore. And I had gone with a couple of friends to a Waffle House after homecoming one time. And when we were all sitting there, we were all sitting there and nobody new had walked in. So I need you guys to understand that these people had been in this Waffle House for at least 20, 25 minutes at this point. And all of a sudden, this one dude gets up, tackles a guy from like the bar seating, and arrests him. It was an undercover cop, and it was a sting operation. But I need you all to understand the weirdest part of this. There's 2 weird parts of this whole thing. The cop finished his food before arresting the guy in the sting operation,
Efficiency.
and the guy who got arrested was allowed to finish his food with the cop's supervision. He like
God given right.
like the cop walked him out holding a fucking to-go box. That shit has lived in my brain rent-free since that day. I still talk about that with my friends I went with it. I've told that story to girlfriend. Like, dude, that's one of the... and it was... Like, I can't even say enough about that experience because we were there for so long. You know what I'm saying? Like, 25 minutes had passed.
Vegas
I
Waffle
looked
House?
at the dude,
Wait.
and I've been like, why is this guy like, he was in all black, like hands in his pockets, but like cargo shorts. I was like, what is this guy's deal?
Is there a Waffle House in Vegas? Las Vegas.
And there was
Waffle House.
it was like Space Coast, Florida, which is at the time, this was like early 20-teens. It was a kind of a rougher area. They had just closed down like the space stuff for the Space Coast, so a lot of jobs were kind of an issue there, so people weren't doing great. So it was a bit of a rougher area during that patch as well, which just added on to it. I don't even know what the sting was for, and I don't think the guy got read his rights. Now that I'm like replaying it in my brain,
Only right that matters is the right to finish my damn waffles.
maybe that was it. Like I forgot to read you your Miranda rights, but like I let you finish your waffles, so like we're cool, yeah.
Yeah, it cancels out. That'll hold up in court.
Okay,
There's no
sorry.
Waffle House in Las Vegas, which is really sad, actually.
Oh, that sucks. That would have been cool.
I was about to say that would have been a legendary meetup. That being said, I'm almost definite, just knowing Las Vegas is a CC's Pizza, and I know if I'm going to Vegas, I'm taking the crew out to CC's Pizza, and we're going to have a damn good time. But that being said, Kat, thank you for your opinion, my friend. We appreciate it. Hopefully you'll pipe down the chat when you're cursing us out for our valid breakfast opinions, which we respect yours, now respect ours. Anyway, continuing right along here. Let's get into something a bit more Smite related. Still a bit more on the goofy side here. But dear Agni, how do you make a tier list that pisses the most amount of people off?
Well, first you'd have to have been born to Delo's parents.
Yes.
And then you'd have to go through a career that would lead you into the direction of content creation being a relevant potential outlet. And then you would find your way onto a podcast with other commentators. And you would ask to do a tier list, and then from there, you simply make it. And you pissed everybody off. There you go. You did it.
The steps are really simple for me.
Yeah,
It's
and
just kind of
probably put
exist.
Weekend on there. Good call, Taz.
Ragni's honestly kind of fire. That actually was one of my secondary gods. I'm pretty sure she's like rank 9 for me. Or maybe a diamond. I don't know. Fisher, your thoughts?
Missed an F in your copy paste.
Yeah, I think the
They missed the
easiest
F.
or like the biggest thing is you still have to make it look realistic. Like it can't look like a tier list that's designed to piss people off, like everything
true.
just at the wrong
That's
spot,
true.
like
No, he's right.
everything backwards. It has to be real enough to where people could like argue that it's a real tier list, not a joke. But then
Yes.
yeah, you just throw people in completely random tiers. Like you have one tier that you like don't explain or just doesn't make any sense. It has to be like believable. You know, that's a big part.
It's like engagement baiting on Twitter, where you do a fast food tier list and you put all the the worst places at the top, and you purposely put the places people go to at the bottom.
Checkers. Arby's.
Yeah,
Arby's.
Exactly. You're like, oh, Arby's is S+ tier because curly fries, and you get
Wait,
100,000
hold on, the curly
interactions.
fries are good though. The curly fries are good.
Why do you think I use
That's
that as
always
the example?
Frozen fries you get.
Does not bring him to S tier, obviously, but I completely agree with it. That's why I don't think I could make the most rage baiting tier list, because I like very much go out of my way to be a moron. Whereas like I don't know, I could totally see back in like the SDL days, like that was what was happening all the time, right? They were always making tier lists to stir the pot. That was like a huge thing. I think
Yeah.
Thockman was always a huge proponent of that stuff. Dude is an absolute shit stirrer, so wouldn't be even surprised if that was him who tosses that one in the pot. But hopefully that gives you some good advice. Go out there and piss some people off, my friend. Godspeed to you. Alrighty, continuing right along, nice and simple one here.
Was
guys.
that one of the old
Dear-
ones or one of the new ones?
That was one of the old ones, actually.
Okay.
We're shoring up on some of our accounts here. So here's the last old one we have for a bit. Dear Agni, how do I tell my teammates it's them and not me? The support.
You're the support. You're not supposed to.
Obviously a text message.
Candygram.
Yeah. But no, I think, last time we talked about sort of how do you kind of win teammates back over? How do you get through comms? How do you sort of, rally the troops? I think, how do I tell my teammates it's them, not me? I think it's more of you almost gotta phrase it like you're at fault. That sort of like young cool professor approach of like, Well, like maybe I didn't explain the information well enough, guys. So let's go back over
Yeah.
the lesson. It's one of those.
Nice. That's actually that is genuinely a good answer. Like if we're taking this seriously, okay, well, hold on. Other head of Agni, Fisher, any thoughts? How do you tell someone that it's them and not you?
Just respectfully, don't don't call them like bad at the game or like you're the problem here. Like, be respectful about it.
Send them a screenshot of their KDA.
Yeah, if you want to get disrespectful, I mean, like,
Don't
there's
do
obviously
that.
multiple ways
Don't
we can
do
approach
that.
it. That's the
That
evil
would
head of
not work.
Agni right there. That's the one that wants to see the world burn. The other one wants to see flames to
Yeah.
bring about renewed growth.
That's what I do with casting feedback. Like when I do, I don't give casting feedback as often. I think that's something I've talked about. But when I do, I really try to I try to phrase it from a, like what I would do, and then find your thing of working it. And it's sort of like that professor mindset of, like I said, where it's, like everybody did bad in the exam, so let's go back over the information and let's look at it from this different perspective. It's sort of like that if you're the support in like a VOD review or a scrim, and it's all right. Well, maybe I wasn't in the best spot for sure, but had you also been here, it could have worked better. And I'm not saying lie, but if you're just presenting the information in a way where everyone's on that equal playing field of blame and it's not pointing fingers, you might get further.
Being a support's an interesting role to have this issue too, because like you're never going to be the one who's carrying the plays, right? You're never the one getting the pentakill, but you're nonetheless a vocal part of the team and instrumental in a sense, especially when it comes to how you sacrifice your life can sometimes be what differentiates you from the good supports to the great supports. And, it's a bit hard when the best way to indicate that you're a good support is dying the right way, especially because that might invite someone to say, hey, you suck. But it's like, I'm dying for the right reasons. So, I don't know. I think I have to agree with you, Anthony, as far as what you said earlier, which is just present it humbly. Acknowledge your mistakes. It's like a little compliment sandwich, but a self-deprecation sandwich maybe instead, where you acknowledge your mistakes,
Sandwich.
but you also... tasty, right? But you also have them try to admit that fault. Because if they're not going to, if you're admitting your own fault, you're showing that humility, and they're not going to do it right back, then either you really suck or they just ain't it. Like it might just be that you also suck. Who knows? We don't know who's right.
Yeah, and sometimes you just gotta shut up and get on your alt account because rest in peace your SR.
That too. That being said, we here at Late at SMITE do not ever advocate for violating high-res TOS.
No, I think you can have alts, you can have Smurfs, you just can't account share. So let's get on your own secondary account.
Okay, we're good. Never mind. Yeah. All right, in that case, go ahead. Smurf it up. Yeah, Smurfs. Moving on next. Oh, what was the word for... I learned the word Smurf in Spanish recently. Damn it, forgot it. That's unfortunate. It was really good.
That's really cool.
That would be neat, wouldn't it? There's a lot of words that honestly do blend with curses, and it makes things difficult. That being said, this is a fun one that we have from recent. Dear Agni, if you could give your favorite character 1 buff, but your least favorite character would get 2, would you do it? That's an interesting one for me personally. Everyone make sure to drop in the chat below your favorite character that would receive that buff and your least favorite character that would receive the double buff, and if you would take that plunge as well. But I'm curious for your guys' thoughts.
No, my favorite character is already perfect.
I'm not doing it.
That's cute.
I've gone back and forth in my brain a lot since you asked this question a few seconds ago.
Okay.
Done a lot of thinking. I don't think I could do
Really
it. My
hardly
favorite
reflecting.
character is Ho Yi. My least favorite
Sure.
character is Vulcan. And as much as I would love
Wait,
a good
really?
I thought it was X-Ball.
Well, like to cast is X-Ball, but to play against is Vulcan 100%.
Interesting.
He's loud.
Okay.
He's annoying. His damage is annoying. His turret's in the fucking way. You're getting knocked
His
up.
turret's fucking annoying.
There
Sure.
people are backfiring because they think it's cool, even though it doesn't give them any extra distance. Everything about that character pisses me off, and I can't. I don't care. I it's not worth it for me. Like I'll be good enough on Ho Yi, but you're gonna be worse on Vulcan. I'm good. I'm fine.
Fisher, you
Fuck
saying no?
Vulcan.
Yeah, I'd say no. Cerninos is already perfect and the absolute model of what every god in that game should aspire to be like.
Should tell the SMITE
And-
pro players that.
Yeah, they clearly don't know anything about Smite. Yeah, but in terms of like Lee's favorite, it's such a big tie between Sylvanas and Tyr. And if either one of those is like relevant at all in the meta, I straight up don't play. Like I'm not kidding. When Tyr was meta for like 2 weeks, I did not play Smite once.
Wow.
I didn't want to deal with that every game. So yeah, I'm not giving either of them 2 nerfs. Sylvanas is my least favorite character when he builds Mannequin's base. I don't mind when he does anything else, but Mannequin Sylvanas will tilt me into rage quitting. It hasn't yet, but if anything does, that's going to be it.
Glacier saying Fafnir and Bakasura would be their favorite and least favorite respectively, and yeah, I'd pull that trigger because I don't care. I want Fafnir to be good. I respect your dedication to the cause, my friend. Hey, Fafnir was pretty good when the procs were active, right? We saw Fafnir for a little bit, but unfortunately that time's kind of since passed, which is unfortunate for our friend, the Dragon God. Ymir and Hachiman.
Oof, Hachiman with 2 buffs sounds horrifying.
I know. That's like genuinely what I'm thinking. Like, here's the thing. Like, I don't even playing against Hachiman is whatever for me. I hate casting him, and I don't play enough to hate him on the player level as well. But I would probably if I had to play against him frequently enough. I don't think I'm taking it. As much as I'm a Ymir stan, as much propaganda as I spew on here and on my Twitter about him, I don't think I can, in good conscience, allow a double buffed Hachiman to be let loose on the world. So, no deal from all three of us here. Both of us are all of us are standing firm here with our decision, just like we are with pancakes. So, Tess saying not doing this. Ganesh is perfect, and I fucking hate Maman. Maman's your least favorite?
Interesting.
That's interesting.
Crazy.
Like, I don't feel like she's been in the game long enough for anyone to really develop that profound of a hatred for her. But you know what, Tess? Go off. I respect it. Alrighty, guys. Well, nice and simple then from all of us.
And I don't know if I've ever said this, but it's a quick thing. The reason X-Ball is my least favorite character to cast, I feel like his abilities just don't, like, his ultimate's cool, but the rest of his abilities just don't, they're not exciting to cast. You know, you don't really see the branching bulbas do much. The poison looks underwhelming on broadcast, and the damage has never been too significant. His Rising Jaguar escape is the most exciting part of his kit to watch, and it doesn't have the oomph or the impact of things like an on-her jump, you know, disperse, or even a Ho-Yi jump for that matter. It just is, everything looks underwhelming, but he performs well. So it gives you less to work with and less to kind of bring up and excite about him. I mean, you can talk about the range and his autos, but even that is kind of like, bleh, you know?
I think, like, my least favorite, which I don't know if anyone knows this, like, to cast, right? Because it's different. I hate casting Yu Huang. I cannot stand casting that character.
That's a very valid
It has
one.
nothing to do with the kit, nothing to do with the god. I have never seen more people miss a freaking ultimate in my life than I do people on Yu Huang that literally hit it one out of the 10 times I cast it. It makes me so mad because every time I'm like, big damage ultimate, and it's 10 feet off the mark. It wasn't even close. Like, and that's not a player specific thing. Every single person I have ever seen play that god, I think is not good at it. And eventually there will be someone that proves me wrong. But to this day, I have not been impressed with a single Yu Huang performance.
That's interesting. I would say it's because of the kit, because Celestial Flight just pads out fights for so long, but hey, fair enough. Lord Poseidon saying, it's hard as Yu Huang main. I can't see the back dragon. Sorry, buddy. You're going to have to see instead Fisher's just raving commentary as they flame you into oblivion when you miss it. Better get your numbers up.
To be fair, I don't think I've ever insulted Yu Huang on broadcast, because I know it's hard, but it makes me so upset.
Hit those ultimates, my mid-friends. Otherwise, you will be getting some strong words in the mail from my friend here, Agni. Tess saying, my hot take is prod is that Cthulhu is amazing to do camera work with. That's not a hot take, Tess. You do amazing camera work with it. Get the kaiju cam going. If y'all haven't seen a game with Cthulhu and Tess as the almighty eye in the sky, you're missing out on a treat. It's so fun to watch Cthulhu in that Descent of Madness tower over enemies and watch them flee like little ants. The best. Anywho's, next up here, a bit more of a casting related one, so I'm going to drop that in the chat. Dear Agni, congrats, Anthony, on casting Smite. Maybe it's a little invasive, but I'm curious what the process was of getting picked up to do what it was like. I know you from Halo, so I wasn't sure where your history with Smite came in. Alternatively, with all three of you being announcers for the same game, do you guys ever get competitive or jealous of each other? How would you suggest working that out? That has worked for you guys between me and my friends. Love the show. Keep it up, buds.
I'm sorry, did they say they know me from Halo?
Yeah.
That is so fucking cool. I'm sorry, I'm gonna gush over that. That is so fucking cool. I never would have guessed that in a million years. That is so cool. I have cast so little Halo, and I will say, I was not the most popular of casters with Halo in my short time doing it. So that is really that is really freaking cool to hear. While I figure out this fucking text,
but yeah, Fish, you want to take first crack at the second part?
Do you guys want to answer that second part?
Yeah, I mean, I think with me it's a little bit a little bit different because I'm a chair 2 and you guys are both chair 1. So like in my eyes, I'm not directly competing with you guys for anything. Like obviously, there's a chair 2, chair 1 on every cast. So for me, I think even if I was though, it's always nice to see each other succeed. I don't think I've ever gotten jealous of either of you for any of your success. I think the only thing that I've been jealous about with Smite casting is just the amount of attention, and this isn't specific to you two, but like chair 1s get to chair 2.
It's
like
true.
There's always so much hype around the chair 1, and I think it's kind of like how casting goes, right? There's never going to be like those pop-off calls for chair 2s, but like seeing all the stuff like blow up online, like I think Anthony with your SDL final like went crazy on Twitter, and that stuff just does not happen with analysis. So I think that's the only thing that kind of sucks, but even so, like that's not a personal thing, and that's not like, you know, something that really changes. Like I get it, but yeah, I don't think I've ever been competitive or jealous, EL.
And that goes out for not just C2s, but camera work. It goes out for admins. It goes out for all the things that don't get the screaming plays. But C2s, you know, it's the other on-mic talent that still doesn't get that equal props. You're absolutely right. So, you know, everyone, if you know C2 in your life, give them a hug. Say that you matter. Because, like, genuinely, like, you know, joking aside, like, it genuinely is what allows us C1s to thrive. They're the ones who set us up for success, who set us up for those good calls in the first place. Yeah,
there is a reason there's 2 commentators usually.
When you hear good analysis, you know, point it out. Throw out some praise instead of just for like the sick end call. Hey, that was a really good analytical point. That was some really good like storytelling there, some really good web building. So just make sure to recognize that aspect as well, because yeah, understanding that makes obviously a different story for the viewing experience than for us as casters who understand that art form behind it. But C2, it might not get all those loud decibel breaking plays, but just as important. Anthony, I'll go to your thoughts before I give mine. So, also, make sure to talk about the casting a bit.
Yeah, I was gonna say. So I'll talk about the first one. Yeah, I don't think it's invasive. I think it's totally understandable to be curious how that happened, especially because I've been in the amateur scene for so long. You know, and I've always made it clear that hopefully that was gonna happen, and it was just like something that'd be cool. Fisher mentioned the clip, and you know, I'll try not to. This will probably be one of the few times where I actually go through a timeline. I'll keep it short, but just to kind of, you know, do it once, I guess. Fisher mentioned the clip that went super around but mostly the Smite community, but a little bit outside. It did get a lot of views, which was the end call for season 2 of SDL, which was me screaming about the Sunbreakers, you know, taking out the sun and darkening the skies and conquering the season, because the Sunbreakers were an in-house org essentially for SDL. They won the championship in all the divisions, so I freaked out. I also was a fan of both teams, and it was just a really good game. That clip did really well. A lot of people were like spamming Hindu man ats and a lot of stuff like that. I talked to Hindu that day, and basically he said, you know, keep up the grind. You have a good future. And over the course of a year, I continued that grind. Probably did 400 Smite games, maybe 300 at the bare minimum. I also started casting Rocket League, Halo, iRacing, Call of Duty, and others in that time frame of that kind of year to get as much experience as I could. Towards the Worlds-ish for Season 10, or for Year 10, excuse me, I talked to Hindu Man again. Sort of just like a touch base thing, got some feedback on my casting and things to work on. I did that, worked on stuff. I talked to him again in spring, around when we were starting to get some rough dates and timelines for Smite 2. I got my chance, I guess you could say, my shot, which was a one-time thing initially for the first Alpha Weekend tournament of Smite 2. I did fairly well. The reaction was positive to me, so I got more chances, and now I'm on I'm in for the foreseeable future. I'm working Smite 2 as a caster for the Founders Series. The process of it was just grinding it out, getting as much feedback as I could, and it took me a long fucking time. That's kind of the biggest thing that I really want to iterate. It took me so long. My first ever Smite cast was 2016. and I took a break, and then I started again in 2022, and I didn't even get a hint that I had a chance to cast Smite 2 professionally or Smite professionally until spring of 2024. So that is I mean it very seriously when I say it is a grind, and it's a little bit of luck, and it's a lot of just, grit and putting time in. And I still put in grind, and I still VOD review myself, and I still ask for feedback and try to get better. But it's really cool you knew me from Halo. That is fucking awesome. And I hope I can cast Smite 2 for a really, really long time. But for the second part of the question, all of us being, casters, we do the same games. I think D'Lo and I are a really good example of that. We're both play-by-plays. We have pretty different styles from each other. There are some similarities. Obviously, we both get really hyped, but there's a lot of differences between our style of casting. And we've cast for the same games. There's been gigs where D'Lo gets it and I don't, and obviously there's gigs where I get it and D'Lo doesn't. It's just kind of the nature of it. Mm-hmm. I don't really think it's something where we haven't been competitive, and maybe there's there's jealousy of the sense of, oh, it'd be cool if I had gotten that, but it's always just been happy to do it. We've always three of us have all supported each other. D'Lo and I specifically, we've always supported each other. We tried to help each other get gigs. If there's been things where I haven't gotten, and I've suggested D'Lo, and he's done the same exact thing with me. And there's been gigs where we've worked together. There was a Rocket League one where we got to cast for Vessel, which was a high school esports league that we both did. And neither of us helped each other get it because it was more of a, you had to get picked to do it. We just both got fortunate enough to do it, and we cast together. And for me, I always worry about myself, and I just try to better myself. I don't really I try so hard to just not worry if somebody else gets something, that means I wasn't good enough or I wasn't the right fit and I've got to get better. But it's awesome for them, and that's just kind of how I've always thought about that stuff. It's competitive in the sense of I hope I'm good enough to get it, but not in the sense of I've got to be better than D'Lo or better than Fisher. I just have to be the best version of me and hope that fits into their plan. And if it doesn't, oh well, I'll get better. And even aside from that, and kind of an aside, I'm sure D'Lo is probably going to talk about this, but we also all work with each other and have helped each other. So we've all given each other feedback. We've tried to improve each other. So it helps not being competitive because you're equally as happy when they get big opportunities as you are for yourself.
Yeah, seconding everything that's been said by both of you so far, and I will correct you a bit there, Anthony. You did help me get Vessel because God knows I don't be checking my notifications, so Anthony had to send me the tweet, and then had to remind me about the tweet. And we do the same thing there for Fisher, because God knows Fisher sometimes is just head in the clouds, not paying attention to his notice. So we see something Rainbow Six Siege, we're spamming the shit out of his inbox. Is instantly like, hey, dummy, check your stuff, and he'll get in on that too. Yeah, if we're talking. My bad. Crazy. You're right. Smartest man alive. But if we're just talking that Smite scene, I'd say definitely a vice of mine is envy in general, but it's the envy that Anthony's talking about in the sense that it's self-contained. Not even really envy in that sense, but it's more I guess for me personally at the very least, it's in a sense self-deprecation, but not it's, I don't know. It's genuinely hard to wrap I remember one time in SDL, and this was when my first casting league. This is when I was first starting to realize, hey, I actually really like this. My job at the time was not giving me too much joy, so casting was something that really was invigorating me and getting me up and getting me active and having me look forward to doing stuff even after the rat race on my 9 to 5. And I remember they brought aboard this new C1, and I remember hearing him, and his style did sound similar to mine. And I gotta tell you, I felt really bad, not angry at him, but bad about myself in the sense that I felt replaceable instantly, and I felt honestly I was going to fade into the background at that point. And I think that what it comes down to is what Anthony mentioned, the fact that you got to recognize that you always bring something unique to the table. That's as a person, obviously, but also as a caster. There's only one of each single person, and no matter what, you're never better at everything than someone else. So it comes down to just having self-confidence, having self-worth, and that's something that everyone struggles with. God knows I struggle with it. I try to really be a perfectionist, and I try to also adopt that mentality of, okay, you didn't get that. I'm not going to be angry at that person. If anything, I'll beat on myself a little bit, which is not necessarily the best way to go about it, but it's about making sure you're at the very least I'd say the ideal method that I would hope that one day I can strive to accomplish is, instead of beating up myself about it, I can think that same way that Anthony just mentioned earlier, which is that idea of aspiring for greatness and recognizing that just because you don't get it now doesn't mean that a few days down the line you can't be a little bit better. You can't get that same exact opportunity that someone else got. So that's at least my answer on it. It's tough though. Obviously, it all interplays with, like, you know, your feelings of self-confidence, self-worth, who you see yourself as a caster, and the reality is we're all different. We all occupy different roles. We all occupy different things, and that's what makes casting fun. It's
and
quite
almost
literally
a
a
little bit
reflection of
like a
yourself.
relationship. And I know it sounds funny, but in the sense of like the three of us communicating, where when we haven't gotten something or we feel like we had a bad cast, of saying like, "Hey, you know, like give it to me straight. Like what? Like why was that not good, or why was that not good enough? Or you know, hey, like." Give it to us straight. Like, what do you think you did that set you apart for this thing? I think it's a lot of that too. It's just the three of us in particular communicate in a way that's just never been like a worry or a topic of discussion. And that's how we all, I think, I would like to think, try to be to other casters in general to avoid that becoming an issue. That's something I don't vibe with that mentality. I'd rather hate myself than pretend to have an ego for no reason. I guess is my really bad way of putting it.
Yeah, hopefully the goal is obviously to walk that line, find that moderation. Don't hate yourself, but also don't hate the people that are still finding success and thriving. It's about that balance, and that's hard. You know, that comes down to things deeper than just casting. That comes down to mental health, which, hey, mental health is just as important as your HP bar on the screen of your Smite game. So, you know, stay safe out there, stay healthy, gamers. Moving on to something a bit more lighthearted, but thank you for that question.
That was a really
very
good
important, of course. Very, very good. And we always appreciate taking a little bit of a, traipse on the serious side of things as well. This one, can't quite say is gonna fall into that category. Dear Agni, hits hash bong can we get like a hits hash bong soundboard? Is that a thing we can do?
I'll do what I can.
Thank you. As the god of fire, I'm sure you're an expert on the culinary arts. Are French fries still fries if they are baked? Wouldn't that make them French? I'm putting these in air quotes for those who are listening on Spotify. French bakes? Thank you. French baked. That's how they signed off. Interesting. Okay, so French fries. Are they French fries
what the
if
fuck
they're
what did I just read?
I don't know. Can Agni, as the god of
I need
fire,
to read this a second. I'll be right back.
Can Agni get high off the fumes? Does Agni get high off his own noxious fumes, you think? If he inhales them?
into just completely different territory.
If he inhales them, do you think it's like a whippet?
If they are baked, wouldn't that make them French baked? What?
The viewers can't hear you, Anthony. Okay, hold on.
I think that's just in the background, like contemplating.
Okay. So, maybe Zetan, if we know Zetan went to culinary school, so if he's in the audience, he can help us out here. But French fries, I'm trying to think of like other examples. Like, I don't know, like, nah, y'all got this.
Yeah, I mean, like,
Fisher's got
like
this.
on a technicality, probably not. But like, what else are you gonna call them? If you take like the Arby's curly fries, right, that you pick up at King Supers because you're making hamburgers that night and you want fries, you go home, pop them in your oven to bake them. They're still French fries to me. I don't know. I think it's just like that, the style of it, like the cut up potatoes that you then get hot. It's fries. Doesn't have to be fried.
Yeah, I'm kind of with that.
What the hell I read?
I'm not sure. I mean, clearly they were, on some noxious fumes when they wrote this out. So
yeah, I would also argue if you call them French bakes, that you're no fun at parties.
Yeah.
don't
I mean,
call them that. They're fries. That is not the best way.
I mean, they're just fucking potatoes trying to live their best life.
Let them go.
Like,
bro.
are we casters? Are we commentators? Are we announcers? Are we pricks with a microphone? We're still fucking doing the same job. It's a fucking potato. It could be hit by a summer breeze and be lightly cooked, and it's still a potato. I'm really, that one really got in my head. I think I'm frustrated because I had such a hard time reading it, and on my fourth reread, I was like, okay, where is something I can hit myself with?
You do have a perfectly good microphone right there.
I am a bit
This
confused
is way
still
too
about
to
it.
hit myself with. I'm sorry.
Cat.
I have to find a cheap one before I start smacking myself.
Big man flexing. He's about to pull out his waffle maker and stunt on
I
us
got
a bit more. Oh, okay, there you go. Nice. That worked out well. Cat saying
Ooh, even red and
Fisher's
blue.
way of wording it is actually the best way to word it. That's nice. All right, some Cat's agreeing with us on a food take. Must be a good day here on Latest Mike. Must be a good day indeed. All right. Continuing right along. I think we have time for maybe, I don't know, like one more, Anthony. What you say?
What?
Anthony's yelling at inanimate objects.
Do we have time? I think we have time for one more. Yeah, we can do one more.
Okay, time for one more. Time for one more, everyone. So in that case, let's get to it. Let's see. Ooh, there's some good ones here. Let's see. I'm gonna get there's a lot of support hate. Dear Agni is receiving a ton of support hate, and I've got to imagine that some of my performances online are probably impacting this.
People queue with you and we're like, nah, I gotta get on this guy's page.
This ain't it. This is not it at all. Okay, I can't quite even blame them either. Okay, so we'll end with this one. We'll end with some support discussion, though it will pain my heart to do so. So here we are. Dear Agni, how do I tell my support that I need them to stop committing unalive in lane for no reason? Alternatively, what's a good way to give negative feedback and maintain a positive environment? We kind of touched on this, guys, but this one's a bit more geared toward the serious side of it. So let's get into it.
So I think positive environment is as simple as bite your fucking tongue sometimes. Smite players suck at that. Honestly. Bite your tongue. There are just some times where the easy thing to do is just to get angry, yell into the comms, be pissy about something. And sometimes it's just better to mute for 2 seconds, say it off to the side, and then get back in comms and say, can I get a rotation? Can I get some help? Or, hey, did you try to ult me, or did you see that I was low? Instead of, why didn't you ult me? Where's my jungler? Something to that effect. We did talk about the negative feedback and maintain a positive environment, and I think that's just a matter of wording and a matter of where you're coming from. Are you coming at it from an angle of you're being negative and tearing them down, or are you bringing up something that isn't working, but you're trying to frame it and bring it forward as a way to better everybody? And how are you actually phrasing that to people? I think that's where that comes in.
Is there anything to add there?
Yeah, it's don't be a dick. Like, if you want to maintain a positive environment, don't be like, hey, idiot, why don't you stop dying? Like, no, say like, hey, can we play a little bit more passive and farm more rather than getting so aggressive? Just do something like that. Like, negative feedback is fine. Like, telling someone like, hey, we probably shouldn't be doing that, let's do something else. Don't be mean about it. It does no good if you like insult them or something, because then they're gonna get tilted. They're not gonna do it. They're gonna stop listening, and it's all just gonna spiral. Just literally be nice about it. No one will care. Like, not everyone's gonna listen if you ask them to like stop doing something, but unless you're mean about it, they're not gonna care.
Yeah, I had one real bad tilt around when I started casting. Actually, like in 2016, I was in college. This was before I started dating Victoria, so lonely, single, in college, and I got real tilted at a duel
dangerous
match.
combination.
Real tilted at a duel
me about
match.
the French fries.
And I ruined my computer chair. Absolutely ruined it. I mean,
What'd you do?
I don't want to get into that. It wasn't
Dude
pretty.
pissed and pooped all over
No,
it. Dude
I more
and
beat it
vomited
up,
all
kind of
over
like
it.
that world's clip for SPL where he's punching his chair. It was sort of that kind of vibe, and I ruined my computer chair. I just went
Ruined
crazy.
his PC?
I beat the shit out of it, and it just was not the same chair after the fact.
You
And
guys the speed.
I didn't play the rest of that day, and I kind of had this moment of like, I liked that chair, like I'm now like I'm more uncomfortable now. Yeah, property damaged computer chair. I'm more uncomfortable. And I asked at the time, I mean, there's still my two closest friends, I would say, but I asked two of my closest friends, I was like, this isn't good. Like, what do I do, Because we're all around the same age, but they both had kind of figured out their tilting issues before me because they're League of Legends players, so they had worse to deal with. And basically the advice just boiled down to like, I don't know, dude, just don't. And there was something about being delivered the cold hard fact like that of like you're just an idiot for doing it and just chill. And then we were like, all right, we're all gonna. I'm giving a kind of an inside story here. I won't go full details because this is a crazy story, but we basically played like 24 hours of games together. And the goal
Exposure
was
therapy.
no tilt. Nobody's allowed
That's
to
fun.
tilt no matter what happens. We did a Destiny raid. We played a new game co-op. We played Battlefield 1. We played Smite. And I tried a League of Legends game. We were all on camera, so there was no like getting away with like tilting and smacking something.
That's fun.
We called it tummy time. We were on Skype, so the three of us we refer to each other as like the Skype tummies in our group chats and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, the goal was no tilt, and it worked. Nobody tilted in that 24 hours, and ever since then, I mean, I'll yell, I'll get mad at a game, but it's always at a level where it's like I'll smack my mouse on my desk and I'm now good. Or like I'll smack F6 and then I'll say I just needed to do that. I'm good now.
Yeah, I remember you doing that.
Ever since then, I don't get mad the same way, and I mean, genuinely, not being funny here, I think I'm a better person for it. But I enjoy games a lot more ever since I kind of locked that in.
Well, like, tilt is a reflection of how we respond to actual competition and things not going our way. So, like, yeah, it might sound like a small aspect, but genuinely, if you can solve your tilt, you can apply that to other things in life, too. So it makes sense. It's genuinely learning how to deal with rage, fury, anger. Tess saying, I'm an F6 hitter. We know. We know, Tess.
Yeah, I think it's also, like, it's important to note there's a difference between, like, getting upset at the game. Like, everyone's going to get upset, like, even the nicest player, versus, like, tilting and starting to curse out your teammates. Like, you can still get ticked off at a game without getting, like, negative and yelling at people over it.
I don't think there's, for April, though, during Pokemon Unite, there exists no in-between. It's just
Don't act like you're a saint in that game either, Doug.
I am...
No.
Yeah. That's only because April makes me worse. April brings out the demon. April brings out that dog in me. So, as far as my take on it, just if we're returning back to the original question, which is how to give negative feedback but maintain a positive environment, make sure you don't make it a dog pile. Even if your team entirely agrees with you, you're much more likely to get a defensive response if you're appealing to. Isn't that right? You know, solo isn't our support sucking, and if
I've seen comp teams
then
blow up from that.
We've seen that, dude. I'm thinking of SDL. I'm thinking of shoot.
I wasn't gonna drop names. I was just.
I will. It was Rushology, and it was freaking what? Oh shoot! What the frick was his name?
I'm not helping you with this. I'm letting you dig this hole.
Fisher, back me up. Come on. Rushology won't care.
I don't remember honestly. I don't remember the drama enough. I remember it was Rushology and post drama.
Post drama.
I don't remember the drama because at this point I was stopping being like an.
That's what it was.
I actually don't fully know what happened, so I'm being more funny than serious. But yeah, they had drama, and it was a similar thing where it was a he said thing where it was like a I'm getting dog piled on type of thing during a VOD.
I remember it was. And that's how Thockman started his gritty reputation, where he was grittying on the stream, like watching the drama unfold with his shirt off. Dear God, what a time to be alive that was. SDL had some peak moments, dude. But yeah, going back to it, like ancient history. I'm sure they're fine. Anyway, love to them both. Love to you both, Rushology and Post Drama. Hope you guys are okay. I got nothing but love for them. So hopefully they have nothing but love back for us. But if not, them's the breaks. My bad, guys. Anyway, dogpiling is bad. It will invoke a defensive response even if what you're saying is valid. So make sure that you don't make it a we statement. Make it an I statement. And also genuinely try to see their perspective. Like, it's like we're getting into the very miniature facets of what is, at the end of the day, a video game. But it's a video game that a lot of people have near and dear to their hearts. Life is all about the optics. Ain't that a thing, Tess? Exactly. It's all about seeing things from the other side, looking at it from their shoes. Boots aren't in the game anymore, but nonetheless, you got to make sure that you are taking a look and seeing, okay, this person's clearly putting an actual effort into the game. What are they not seeing that's causing this kind of differential in what we want to see from them gameplay-wise? So hopefully that helps. Appreciate your question there, my friend. Russian post-drama. Hope y'all are doing well.
Okay, sorry, I had to recover. All right, well, that was Dear Agni. Thank you as always for those submissions. Keep your eyes out in my Discord and on Delo's Twitter. Usually you'll see kind
Let me
of
drop
retweets
the
and posts
post.
of those the form that we use to grab those Dear Agnies. As you see, I have a Q&A listed. I know Dear Agni's kind of that, but I just figured, we're a couple episodes in. Podcast is doing really well on YouTube and on Spotify, better than I think we even anticipated this early on.
Thanks, guys.
So yeah, thank you for that. But I figured there was any questions related to Smite 2, related to us, our casting. We could take about 5 minutes or so, talk about that. This will probably be cut out of the podcast itself. So, just a little bit of fun, exclusive live stuff if we want to do
But make
that.
sure you include that part so everybody watching at home knows they have to come to the live.
Yeah, and they
next
feel
time.
bad.
Yeah, exactly. Well, if you are watching at home, you do miss out on the Q&A, or listening at home. You miss out on the Q&A, but you got to hear us yap for about 2 hours, and Smite 2 is around the corner. Remember everything that we said. Smite Prime, Smite 2 Founder Series, September 14th. That is my birthday. A Q&A about esports Friday on Smite Game, 1 p.m. Eastern Time. Don't miss that as well. And if this is where you kind of go to the end of the podcast, have a great one and be safe, and we'll see you next time on Late at
Appreciate
Smite.
you.